Today, we're talking to my good friend Shayo. I met Shayo, I'd say probably 8 years ago, and it was through a mutual friend. And the first thing I noticed about him was that he had this vigor to him. He was just a very jolly, nice, easy to be with, but a strong guy. And I didn't even know that he was vegan. This guy's a vegan, but you're going to see him. He is a powerhouse. He has a great attitude, and he's been involved in the industry making big changes since he graduated. So he's on Instagram, he's on social media, he's called the Wavy Vegan. He's a health and fitness influencer who graduated from FAU with a bachelor's in health sciences and is currently in the industry educating the youth in health education. He's on a mission to make fitness an admired virtue and a cool thing, even for the youth who enjoy anime and are typically considered nerdy. He's had several videos reach millions of youth, inspiring them with pop cultural content featuring workout and health concepts paired with scenes from popular animes and shows that the youth adore, like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, etc., etc. He's a powerhouse of inspiration, strength, and good vibes, and we're going to have a great time talking with him today to get inside his head and see how he maintains such vitality and strength while we're living in such a strange health landscape full of minefields and landmines. So we're waiting for him to join the stream right now. And I'll just tell you a couple more things about him. I've worked out a lot with this guy, and he doesn't have this try-hard attitude. He has a very intelligent, natural, intuitive approach to fitness and health. You're going to see his demeanor is very relaxed, very charming. And when I'm working out with him, he's very strong, but he takes his time. He enjoys his exercise, and he enjoys it kind of like a social event. So he has some very interesting internal dynamics happening to where he doesn't have to force himself and get super serious. And his mindset is very interesting. So we're going to see everything that he's incubated to make himself magnetic, to make himself very strong. And we're going to talk a little bit about his diet because he's a vegan. But you're going to be shocked at how strong he still is. So while we wait, I just want to talk about the concept of having good friends or your comrades as you go through your health journey. I think people underestimate the power of having friends and people who are going towards the same thing with you in life, especially when it comes to your health, your vitality, your energy. It's like people say you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And it's very true when it comes to health, when it comes to your energy. You know, I feel like a lot of guys, they're very isolated nowadays. And I totally understand it because graduating from college, I was so social. I was so involved with college, with church, had a girlfriend, constantly surrounded by my colleagues, constantly working in a social environment. But then when I graduated, all of that fell away. You know, I graduated, I started working full time. I was working a job, night shifts, and it was just horrible for my health. There he is. Good to see you.
You too. Yeah.
How are you?
All good, all good. Can't complain.
Your skin is glowing.
Yo, you too. It's also because I have the blinds
Yeah.
open, the sunlight's on me.
Yeah. Do you have a studio or is this just like your living room?
Studio. I get one. What's the difference? Let's go with that.
So I'm already recording, but it doesn't even matter because I can edit this and we can edit out parts. But Big part is just that I want it to be like not an interview. I just want it to be like us talking. So there's no pressure to do anything or to say anything. We could just, it doesn't have to go any direction. We can talk about anything. We can talk about Pokemon. We can talk about anime.
Just make it flow.
Yeah, exactly. So you look pretty lean. You're, I haven't seen your face in quite some time. When I saw you do that, I noticed, I was like, do you know your body fat percent?
It's
Do you
actually a lot higher than it usually is. I would say, because let's go back around 2022, 2023. It was a lot lower. Like I did the in-body machine and it going around 8% or so. And so with the recent body machine, like 11%. Yeah, from recently. I think that was last year, late last year, like 11%. So it's a little bit higher, but that just goes to show you, just because you're at a certain number doesn't mean you're going to look a certain way. You can still look a certain way even without being at that number. So it don't matter.
Yeah, I guess it's based on genetics, but I guess it's just all the stress of growing up and
seeing your pictures. You've gotten pretty lean too. I've been seeing your pictures with your shirt off and stuff. I'm like, Jesus, you got really lean.
Yeah, I wasn't focusing on it, but that was because I was doing a lot of fasting, because I was having gut issues, because whatever was happening with the long COVID and the mold, I wasn't able to eat food without it kind of like agitating me. And so I started doing a lot of fasting, like intermittent fasting. And then also I did like a 2 or 3 day fast a couple times. Like I was fasting every month because I just felt like it really helped cleanse stuff out. And so I got really lean. Like I got like probably like 7% body fat. And yeah, I didn't want to be that lean. So I'm changing stuff up and I'm recovering. And it's been such a journey, man. Like this past 18 months with my health. I feel like it's kind of changed my entire, not my genetics, but something's definitely different. Like, the feeling when you go from being 18 into being like 25.
Yeah.
And then there's also a transition between like when you're 25 and when you're like 30, 33. Like there's something that changes. Yeah, but there's something that changes, especially definitely want to ask you if you've ever been through like health crises too, or even just dips, not like health crises, because me coming out of this whole like health crisis where I was dealing with like mental instability, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, I couldn't work, I had chronic fatigue, my gut health changed like crazy, and I struggled with this for like over a year. So coming out of it, everything just feels like it's kind of different. Like I don't feel like the same vigor. And so I'm still on a healing journey, and thank God, like I'm feeling much, much better. But it's really an interesting experiment seeing like how to transform your mind, your gut health, your body, your energy levels, and how it all kind of like ties into how you feel and your vitality and like just your mojo, your mojo.
Yeah.
So I think that would help a lot of people if we talked about that. I'm always talking about my healing journey, and I think a lot of guys would probably relate to like, having slumps where you feel like, I don't know, unemployed, depressed, or COVID, or isolated, lonely, mental health things. Guys are probably dealing a lot with like, I don't know, low self-esteem or maybe social issues, women issues. There's so much that we can go into it, but do you want to talk a little bit about like any health struggles or crises that you've had?
So I haven't had too many, but the ones I did have, I guess are my favorite to talk about. And that was just like, wow, I experienced so much, and to get through it, it's like, oh, okay, I went through all this, and hey, once you come out the other, you're like, okay, now I got a good story to tell out of it. But
Exactly.
let's say my biggest one was when I went through sciatica, having that pain of it running down through, through your butt and then going through your leg, which is making it numb. And for me, it would start in my upper back as well. And the way it just started was I was riding my bike home from college one day, right? because I used to ride to and from. But college wasn't too far from my house. But yeah, I was just riding one day, and all of a sudden, I got this sharp pain going through on the right side of my body, through my lower back, all the way through my leg. I was just like, ow, I couldn't, move it too well. And then eventually it went away. But then from then on, it just kept progressing and intensifying to the point where I can't even bend down and touch my toes without having pain. I can't lift my leg up without having pain, and it became so debilitating when it came to and I'm going through college at the time, studying exercise and health science. So you got to be able to, do this stuff. And that severely nerfed my performance into what I could do, because I go and do the movement and boom, I'm in pain. I'm trying
Mm.
to show the movement and boom, I'm in pain. I had to actually stop working out for, yeah, majority of it, like 3 years, because even though I was trying to work out, trying to work through it, it just got so bad to the point where working out was exacerbating the issues. And just
Mm.
navigating that and being like, oh my gosh, you get to the point where you're like, I would like to do anything I could to take away this pain, right? And so I'm thinking like, oh, I need to have surgery, and I'm considering that. I'm just
Wow.
considering somebody going in there taking a knife, ripping whatever needs to be ripped out, so I do not have this pain, so I can perform again like usual. Like you get to that point where you're just in so much pain, you're willing to do
Mhm.
anything to get out of that pain.
Yeah.
But then eventually, I didn't even know 3 years had passed, but I finally was able to have some breakthrough in that, because you stretch and stuff, and you ask different people, like you're trying to find, okay, what can give me the answer to solve my problem. But nobody's gone through, well, let me not say nobody's gone through what you've gone through. People have gone through what you've gone through. You just have to try a lot of things to see, okay, what is going to work for your situation. You ask how they solved it. Maybe what they give you will help you solve it, but sometimes, most of the time, it will not. So you just got to go to the next person. If you stop trying, that is when, hey, you're going to have the problem forever. But you don't if
Mm.
if you keep trying, eventually you're going to find the solution. And that's what it was for me. Eventually I was able to, I think it was this method called flowability. Yeah, the flowability method, where they talk about, how to stack your ribs, how you should be standing, how to breathe through your ribs, all that good
Mm.
stuff. And from there, I didn't like buy the course or anything, but just through listening through the guy speak and everything and trying his methods, I was seeing improvement, because I did notice that, hey, my upper back area, when I would go into that forward flex position, it would feel like there's a ripping sensation in my back, and that just let me know, oh wow, I am holding a lot of tension there. And
Mm.
so me working through that and then incorporating that into my workouts, I noticed that, hey, I got to work on my overhead movements. And through me working through my overhead movements, learning how to breathe into my back, constantly stretching it, making sure my body is in that position, instead of, chest always out, standing up tall like everybody else says, just
Mm.
relaxing, making sure, instead of me breathing into my stomach, breathing into my back, stretching those areas. It just kept progressing and progressing, into the point where I was just like, I don't have the pain anymore. The
Mm.
pain started to subside. The better I learned how to breathe, and then eventually, I'm able to. I can't even remember the day that I noticed, like, oh, it's gone. It just became part of my life. Oh, this is not me anymore. I'm not the guy in pain. I'm the guy out of pain. Here's what I'm doing. I didn't even notice that. Boom. At one point, it was the only thing I could focus on, and then the next thing you know, after those 3 years, it was like, sciatic? What's that pain? What's that? So
Wow.
I would say, yeah, that was one of the biggest things I went through, and that now I just like, whenever somebody tells me, oh, they're going through sciatic pain and stuff, and they tell me what to go through, I'll be like, oh, I did that, I did that, I did that, and then so now,
Yeah. You
all the stuff that I've done, and they're telling me exactly what I've already done that didn't work. And they're telling me, oh, this is not working, this is not working. Now I go and say, okay, this is what worked for me. And then they're like, oh, okay, let's try that. And then whether you do it or not, that's up to them. But I know that, hey, I can help them in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm super curious why you think it happened, because you see a lot of young guys.
Hmm.
We have a lot of things that are weirdly happening to us. And how old were you when that happened? Why do you think it happened?
I was early 18, 19. 20, yeah, around that age, early. And that should be where you're at the peak. You're the
Yeah.
strongest you've been. You're supposed to not have injuries. All the old people are like, yeah, no, you're young. You should be able to do all this. No pain, no nothing, feel nothing.
Yeah.
In my case, I don't know. I've always been. That's what's held me back a lot. I guess you could say, my family's like this, where the running joke is like, hey, we're injury prone. We have
Hmm.
all this power and stuff. We use it. We're hurt. It's like Deku. Deku uses one in the beginning. Once he uses one for all, he ends up hurting something. That's pretty much what it's like, and that's what's held me
Wow.
back a lot of times. Where it's in sports where I'm getting injured, I have to sit on the bench. I'm not able to do it, or the coordination factor of it. But in terms of how that got started, I think it was just me. Like I said, I'm still learning. Even though I thought I knew everything in college, like, oh yeah, I know how to exercise, I know how to do all that. I ain't no stuff. So I'm doing a lot of things that I think are correct, but then once you get out of that, oh, everything has to be perfect. You realize, oh no, it has to be perfect for you. You have to make this work for you. You can't just go by the textbook, because you can go by the textbook, but what the textbooks are doing might not, work for you. And so me trying to stand up straight all the time with squeezing my shoulder blades back together whenever I'm doing all my pressing movements or I'm doing the deadlift movements. I'm thinking I'm keeping a straight back, but I have a severe arch, but it looks straight. It looks like perfect textbook
Mm.
form. I even
Mm.
had one of the professors from FAU, when she was having me, perform the deadlift. She um she touched my erectors, right, and we're like, yo, your erectors are really activated, like they were like, I guess, steel rods,
Mm.
because they
Mhm.
were just that flex. And she was like, yeah, relax them a bit. I could not relax them because I did not have the connection to my body
Mm.
to know, oh, I'm not supposed to,
Mm.
be like, but that's how they tell you to lift and stuff. I mean, it did look right on paper, but there is a severe, like, that was my back. Like, it was just on.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, okay, everything tight. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Lower
literally
doses.
take everything to heart. I'm making everything tight. And then I'm also too trying to. What another thing was, I was trying to keep a posterior pelvic tilt as well. So you can imagine my lower back, right? There's an arch, and then but I'm also trying to pull my butt under like that. So all the muscles right here, they're getting pulled and stretched at the same time. Like the muscles going to the butt are going like this, muscles going to the back
Mm-mm.
are going like that. That is not the way the back should be moving.
Yeah.
And
Tug of war.
over time, I think that just compounds along with other stuff I'm doing. It's just like I bet something was bound to happen. But once I got out through the pain, I moved through the pain. I learned why the pain was there. I'm out of it now. Now I know, okay, that just opened my eyes to be like, okay, not one, just because you see something doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You got to make it work for you. You got to try different methods. But you don't know you're hurt, or you don't know you're doing something wrong until you find something better. There we go. Let's go with that.
Yeah. So I was the same way. Like growing up and getting into exercise and weights, I didn't know so many things, and so I did things wrong for such a
Mhm.
long time, not knowing that I was actually hurting myself. Same
Yep.
thing with like the deadlifts. Like I would over arc my back, and even with like nutrition, I would like drink a gallon of milk a day because I read it
Oh.
online. So there's so much information. Yeah, you can only imagine. I got acne. I got like cystic acne. My eye would like twitch when I'm like just talking to people. And I didn't relate it back to like, drinking half a gallon of milk a day or drinking like casein shakes or protein powder. And so I feel like there's so much misinformation out there that not only are we ignorant, but then like people are saying that we should be running and doing cardio like 5 times a week to lose fat. And so I feel like people are doing things that are actually hurting them, thinking
Mhm.
that it's actually like the right way to do it. So there's so many landmines,
Mhm.
even when it comes to like trying to educate yourself. So it
Yep.
comes down to this thing where it's like, we go through trial and error. We're wondering who to listen to. We're wondering um, what's going to work. But there's so many times that we've tried and then it kind of like misled us. Or sometimes people just stay in that groove for so long, just like doing the wrong thing. that it's hard to kind of know like where to go in terms of to get good information on health and
Yeah.
fitness so that you can have like that vitality. So how have you been able to navigate? And I also wanted to ask you like emotionally how you handled that, because I also had like a year plus long back injury, and that just completely ruined me. So I think a lot of guys are also wondering like, how to have better mental health, how to kind of get out of the slumps. So if you want to kind of talk about that, we can talk about the mental health thing and then how to find like good health information.
Gotcha. All right. So for the mental health thing, it's kind of like how they I like to operate, I guess you would say, in the military mindset. I've always been like, oh, I want to be a soldier. So I'm going to take whatever pain it is and just go through it, keep going through it, keep going through it. Eventually you get to a point where you realize, oh, I'm not a robot. I have, feelings and stuff like that that need to be acknowledged. When it came to that part, it was just like accepting the fact, like, just because you look good doesn't mean you are good. And I guess that that's what they call the ego. Actually, real quick, do you know what the ego is?
There's a lot of different ways that you could look at it, but to me, ego is kind of like the character that you build according to how you want to accomplish things in your life. So how would you say like, the ego
Well,
is?
actually, so I'm asking you because that's something I've been trying to understand when people say it, because yeah, I hear ego here and there, but I've never like looked at it and be like, oh, this is what ego actually means. So I asked you for your definition, and that goes along with more how I'm understanding it. So now I can use that better. Well, yeah. So once that part of me that identify with, oh, I'm supposed to be, the best because I look the best. I look super strong. It was all
Mm,
based on me, my looks. And then once I accepted that, oh, I don't have to, I I got a lot better. So one of the things I did was, because I stopped working out, hey, because of the pain, right? But also too, my identity was, hey, I look good. I'm look super strong. I'm always working out, that type of guy, right? Stopped working out
mhm,
completely, and then got comfortable with not looking, or of course, to most people, I still look good, but not being at that peak where I'm shredded, my muscles look super big and everything. I got down to 160 pounds, right? And this is
mm,
with over a month without working out. Usually I'm around 170. I've never been like close to 180, but around that time I was like at 180 at the peak when I was working out a lot. Yeah, so I'm down to 160. I look like, I would say, a shell of who I was. Like I even had someone, I'm still wearing clothes, but I ran into a friend from high school at the movies. He was like, "Man, you're looking small." And for them to say
oh,
that showed me that, oh wow, I have actually, gotten a lot smaller. I mean, if you what you call, if you were to see me, then you'd be like, oh, okay, he probably works out a little bit. He just, I don't look like, super fat or anything. I was just if I go to flex right here, right, it would be a shell of this. It wouldn't look as plump and everything. I guess you would say I look like I'm gonna just go with a shell. But anyways, yeah, so being comfortable and accepting that, oh, working out is not my identity, being that super strong man is not my identity, was great for my mental health, and learning that, I can put my identity into my abilities instead of how I look. That was a big shift. So instead of me or being like, oh,
mm,
I want to look like a bodybuilder all the time, I put my effort into being like, okay, what can I do? This is the body I have because of what I do. Once I switched that, oh boy, the whole world opened up for me. I was a lot more forgiving to myself, and it was a lot easier for me to do things now because I'm like, okay, yeah, people can say, oh, you're looking small, you're not working out as much as you used to. I like when you look bigger and stuff like that. But I'm like, okay, but what can I do? Oh, I can do this handstand. Oh, I can do some more pull-ups. And then that also got me back into working out because I'm like, oh, let me tell you, when you start to go all the way, I don't know how much muscle I lost, but we had to do a project for the exercise science thing, and I decided to use myself. like I said before, I'm 160 pounds and I still look good. I look lean. But when I was watching myself on the video, doing pull-ups, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hard now. Like it was, it was for me to get 5 pull-ups. Oh boy. But I mean, with the sunlight hitting everything, I look great, by the way. But that just let me know that, hey, I don't want to feel like this. I want to put my faith into my abilities. So mental health wise, going back to your original answer, yeah, just not I being taking yourself so seriously, letting yourself free into whatever, um, letting yourself free into how would you let going of certain parts of yourself so other parts can come in. Yeah, if
Mhm.
that's the way I can say, it, yeah, if that makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
not beating yourself over up what you once were, but accepting what you can become. Um, I think that would go into mental health. You're not letting it consume you because it will consume you, and there is a time for that. But the thing is, you don't let it linger. You got to be like, there we go. You can either sit in it or you can go and solve it. Which one are you going to choose, right? You go and sit in it, guess what? You'll be like that forever. You get the pity claps and everything. Hey, it feels good to get pity. It feels good to have people pity you. But guess what? You're doing that to yourself in your mind, but you're not getting anywhere. It's just a little bit of dopamine. Well, actually, I think it does provide a little bit of dopamine. That's why, sometimes you sit in your mind and you just brood and you tell yourself, oh, you're not good enough to do this. You're not good enough to do that. And it feels a little good. It feels kind of validating, but you're not getting anywhere. You're still getting worse and worse because each time you do that and you let yourself validate that, hey, you are something negative, you need to do it more to yourself in order to get that same feeling. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, when you open your eyes, you're like, oh, nothing has really changed. I'm still this. It's getting worse and worse. But now, if you start switching and start doing something about it, when you notice when you are being negative to yourself, be like, why am I talking to this stuff like that? I want to see me succeed, right? So why would I talk to
Mhm.
myself negatively if I want to see myself succeed? Let me switch that voice in my head. Or if I'm talking negative, let me go and fix that. I'm talking negative to myself because there's a part of me that wants to fix it and is trying. And the best way I think I know how to is to talk negative to myself. Obviously, that's not working. So let me start talking positively to myself so I can actually go and fix it. And the more you do that, the more confidence you gain, and you're like, oh no, I can do that. The less and less you hear that negative talk voice, or when it does come, you're like, okay, but look at all of this I've done. I can do this. This is easy to get through. Yeah. So that's the mental health part of it. What was the last part? The other part you wanted to speak on?
Yeah, but real quick, I just want to comment on that because I totally relate to that.
Mhm.
When I was going through all my health struggles, whether it was my bad back or working night shifts and not having sleep, or just recently fighting like the long COVID, mold, chronic fatigue, I did fall into that where I was like grieving, like I don't feel good, like I don't have my energy, I can't work out, I
Mhm.
can hardly socialize, like it's hard for me to even get the energy to get up and walk. And so I
Yes.
did have that grieving period where I was like, oh my God, like I don't know who I am. I don't know
Mhm.
what to do socially. I don't know what to do with my time. I don't get like the mental health dopamine
Mhm.
and the endorphins from like working out. And so it did put me into like this scary downward spiral where it was like I didn't come out of that grieving for a long time. And I was kind of just stuck in this the grieving led me to like it's not fair. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
you
Yeah.
just start getting into self-pity and the self-perpetuating, like you're saying, you at a certain point I lost this feeling of like agency where I was like, the capable guy. Like
Mhm.
it got to the point where if you're sick or beaten down for long enough, you start to feel like learned helplessness. You're just like, well, I've tried so many things and nothing's working, and then you're just like angry.
Mhm.
You're like angry or like so things can really like start to pile up when it comes to you get hit with a physical injury, you get hit with some kind of like physical sickness, and then it impacts like your personality a little bit. Then it impacts like your social life a little bit. Then you're
Mhm.
like isolating a little bit more. And then phew, like everything starts to get worse and worse. And if you don't have like a mentor or a counselor or like a good friend to talk to, it can just keep on like layering down worse and worse to the point where you're weaving like these sick philosophies, kind of like the villain in like an anime where you start seeing the world differently. Like this world is just like this unfair, dog eat dog world of like suffering, and there is no God, there's no like justice, like so many
And you
people
can't do
suffer.
anything about it. You're stuck with it.
Yeah, it just keeps on getting worse. And so that philosophy is like the real demon that starts to try to like inhabit you permanently. And so I feel like that's where a lot of people start to like actually get stuck, and then
Yeah.
they can actually start having like mental neuroses, mental health disorders, and let alone if they start being violent or like passive aggressive. So the interesting thing about sharing stories and how we got out of it, I feel like it does a couple things. Like you said that you shifted your identity. Like instead of feeling sorry for yourself, you're able to grieve a little bit. Like you said, you feel it, you grieve a little bit, but then you're able to shift your mind, your energy towards something else so that you don't feel stuck. You feel like you can do something, you can build something. So that was definitely something that I didn't do for a long time. I didn't really make that like constructive shift over. So I stayed in like this dark place for like a pretty long time. But you're right, there is always like a pro and a con to every situation that you have. And I only started getting out of it once I actually was able to make that transition and be like, I have some hope that I can get better, but in the meantime, as I can't do all the things I used to, I'm just going to learn like crazy.
Yep.
I'm just going to like explore the dark side of my psyche. I'm just going to explore mental health. If I can't study like physical health, I'm just going to study mental health. And so that was the real transition point for me, where I was able to actually like get over my pity party and
Yeah.
actually be like, all right, it is what it is. I have to accept it. I have to find a different way to like get busy so that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just like dwelling on it all the
Yep.
time. And um, through that, I learned like how my mind actually impacts my whole body, and like the
Mm-hmm.
importance of having like mm, positive emotions, hope, positive thoughts. Because before I was not making that connection between
Yep.
like physical health and like your thoughts, your beliefs, whether you have hope, whether you're like doing something constructive in your life. So I think that's a really common disconnect that people have. So what's your outlook on that? I would really like to see like if you've had um, these episodes where you learn a lot about mental health, and like then I want to ask you how important you think it is compared to like the other six pillars.
So actually, let me say this first. So when you came out with your story, like showing what all you went through, that actually opened my eyes. I'm like, oh, he's a human too. Because for the longest time, right? From when I met you, and just seeing how you are, how you operate, in social settings, I'm like, wow, this guy is really chill. He's got it all together. He's doing well and everything. He's just, a really relaxed guy. He's having all this time. He don't have any problems. Boom,
Right,
you disappear off the earth for like 2-3 years, and then you come back, and I'm like, oh, he's going through all.
right.
Yeah, I'm like, and then, but I'm grateful that you got out of it, because there was sometimes in my head, like through that dark period, I'm like, I wonder what he's up to these days. But I look on your social media and be like, oh no, he's not there. Oh, he's probably back in India, taking another. What do you do in India again?
Yeah,
It was,
just like a yoga retreat, like I went to an ashram.
that's what I was thinking you were doing in that time. You were finding self enlightenment. Well, I mean, I guess you were but in a different way. But yeah, but just hearing your story, it just made it be like, it validated me in being like, oh wow, okay, so
Mhm,
I'm not the only one going through this stuff. Everybody around me is
mhm,
also going through their battles too, and they're struggling. So
mhm,
it's also good to like, hey, sometimes what I've started doing now, if I think about a person, I got to reach out to them. If they're on my mind, just reach out, because you never know
mm,
what somebody is going through who may need that call. And
it's true.
oftentimes I can be like, I'll just think about. Oh, I'll just think. They know I care about them, that type of thing. But hey, sometimes it's just nice to put that out into the universe. Don't just keep it in your head because nobody
Yeah.
else knows your mind. Nobody knows what you're thinking unless you let it out, right? And guess what? With the way life is, hey, you keep that in your head. That person never knows. Next thing you know, they're gone, and you're like, oh wow, but what if
Mhm.
they never who do they really
Mm.
know that, hey, I had their back or
Mhm.
I was ready to come to
Mhm.
their aid, that type of stuff. They'll never know, and you'll never know that they never know because you never told them. So yeah, so I was
Yeah.
listening to that whole
Let me
story you
just
did.
say some
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that because I just want to comment that um, isolation and loneliness, especially
Mhm,
when you're in like this downward spiral, I didn't realize how much that makes a difference on my like entire well-being, whether it's like physical, my like I got fatter, my
mhm,
energy was worse, and like I didn't really know how to connect, and I kind of just I stopped reaching out to people, and so that's a huge thing. I don't think people are making that connection between like if you have a community or like physical friends, online friends, what kind of social engagements you're having. I totally underestimated it. I knew it made like a little difference,
mhm,
but I was listening to Sean Nelson. Um, he's like the sleep expert, and he said the number one thing for him, in his opinion, was social life
mhm.
apart from like sleep. So those were his two things. And when he said that, I was like, whoa, like they've actually done studies looking at, if people have friends, if people are eating together, if people are having like conversations linked with like depression levels and how long they live.
Mhm.
And so when I heard those facts, it clicked because like the science and the facts actually convinced me. And I was like, whoa. So even like last night,
Mhm.
versus just like grinding and like reading and studying and building out modules for my course, I'm like, no, I have to like go find community. So I rode my bike over to a Hare Krishna temple because I know these guys. They're really awesome. We have music, we have food, we just talk. And I was like, but it's 4 hours. Like, do I want to like take those 4 hours? And I was like, yes, because I just saw the science. And I was thinking like, what's the point of me hustling if I'm just gonna feel like isolated? And
Yes.
so that's something that's like, I think guys do not realize that.
No.
Like what you were saying, like reach out to people,
Mhm.
make connections, and you know, it might feel hard if you don't have like real close friends um, to like get yourself to actually go out and socialize in
But the
real
only way
life.
to get those close friends is if you reach out. You gotta, if you're thinking about it, you're probably the one that's gotta take the leap. Because if you don't take the leap, the other person's like, "Oh no, should I take the leap? Should I not take the leap?"
Mhm,
One of you is going to take the leap.
mhm.
You have control over you, so you got to take the leap. If you don't take the leap, it might not ever happen. You can't wait on the other person. You got to do it.
Yeah, yeah, and in addition to that, let's say you text a bunch of people and it kind of just doesn't go very far. You gotta just like keep on reaching out. You gotta like reach out to different people. You gotta try different approaches. You gotta think about that person,
Hmm.
because sometimes graduating from college, people get so busy with like their girlfriend, their family, their wife, their new career. Everyone's like distracted. And so I started to feel after I graduated that like there's this fallout, like people move and like people don't hang out anymore. And it was like this entire new world. Like I thought that life was going to be easy, like in college. And
Hmm.
then after college, it was like, not as much community, friends
Right.
don't come together for sports.
Nope.
And, I was actually going through like an atheistic stage, which is horrible because then I didn't go to church. And if
Hmm.
people don't have like a community where they consistently see the same people,
Hmm.
and if they don't get that from work, then you just like start feeling like that guy from Fight Club, the main guy who's just like, disrespected at work, no good communications or relationships at work. You go home and you just entertain yourself, but
Hmm.
then life just gets like you're angry as a guy and you just feel like the world's against me. And you fall into that philosophy of like, oh man, like life is rough.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot that we have to talk about in terms of like being a guy and not getting distracted by all these bad habits that society is kind of like pushing us towards. Like, it's too easy to stay in. It's too easy to be entertained. It's too easy to watch the wrong things. It's too easy not to reach out. It's too easy to not be involved in like a club or community. And I've seen the biggest difference just getting involved in anything like Toastmasters clubs or like a yoga meetup every
Mm-hmm.
week. Something consistent, like going to the Hare Krishna temple, like anything like that, where you're consistently being with people, especially if your family isn't like closely knit, like a Jewish family, constantly having dinner, celebrations, meetups, like kids, teenagers, adults, grandparents. Like, I think that this is a really underestimated and overlooked portion of health and life. So, how do
Yeah, no,
you see this?
I think like going to what you're saying about community, I think like as the way because from how we evolved, right? We was very tight knit with the community. Everybody relies on each other to survive. And then, hey, when you don't have that, like we have the energy that needs to be dissipated to others, and we need to get other people's energy as well. So if we're not getting that, we're not balancing it out. Hey, we're just sitting with ourselves. There's nowhere for my energy to go. It's just boom, boom, boom. So my
Mm,
energy can go up, it can
yeah.
go down. It's not going to balance out because hey, there's nobody else to balance it out with. But now you say you have that community, you got a whole bunch of energies here, a whole bunch of energies over here. You get new perspectives on everything, and that just makes it easier because hey, you have people around. You realize that hey, I am not alone. There are people that actually care about me, and you just talk to somebody. Oh, you're releasing endorphins. You're getting that dopamine rush. You're
Hmm. Hmm.
good, even if the conversation may not be good. You have people around you. You're seen, and
Hmm. Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we all want to be. We want to be seen. When you go to that
See.
point where you're isolated, you're not being seen. Yeah, you can do it on your own, but eventually it's just like you're just here. Everything's happening around you. Like my mom likes to keep telling me, "You're not an island."
Mhm.
If you go with that mentality, "Oh, I'm an island. I can do everything on myself." You can do it for a little bit, but there's a part of you that's missing that needs to be helped.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have like a big community, maybe like one or two friends that hey, you
Yeah.
see consistently. That's pretty much all you need. And or just like for me is like when I go to work, I would say because I do work a lot. My dad likes to say I'm the hardest worker to ever live. So when I go to work, it's not like because I don't have many. I wouldn't say many friends like because when you're in school, yeah, everybody is pretty much forced to be together, and you have no choice but to make friends. And that going to what you were saying, once you got out of that, right, you saw all the it just all started that community aspect just started fizzling out. Now you actually have to go and build it. It's not you're not being forced into it. But what they're trying to say, yeah. But coming out from that and just learning, me experiencing that for myself, like, oh snap! Once I realized, like, hey, if I was in school with this person, we probably wouldn't be friends, that type of thing. And then once I got out of school, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that is true. Like, yeah, I'm not friends. I was just friends with this person because we were in proximity to each other. We saw each other every day. There's no choice but to make friendship, make small talk and stuff like that. So at work, I'm seeing those people every day. And so that's giving me, hey, a sense of community, even though I'm only seeing those people for like 45 minutes or so. I'm seeing them on a consistent basis. We're having little small talks here and there. We are working out, we are exchanging energies. That's, helps
Mhm.
me grounded and be like, oh, okay, I feel good. I feel like, okay, I'm not alone. That type of stuff. So that's where I would say, yeah, community is really important, even if you're not like, searching for a big group of people to come with you. Just the fact that, hey, you're talking to people at work, you're seeing people, you are around people. That's beneficial within itself. I would say, yeah.
I completely agree. You mentioned some really compelling things. People kind of might think that it's just like some kind of voodoo science about the health benefits that you get when you're with people, but you're right. You mentioned the chemicals that we get, the dopamine, the oxytocin, the serotonin, being seen, how
Mhm.
like even just the idea that being with people is that you're pumping each other's energy, like
Hmm.
you're exchanging energy. Even eye contact creates changes in your physiology. Even a touch, like they look at the science between like how healthy humans are when they hug, like how
Hmm.
many hugs are optimal for testosterone, oxytocin, which decreases like the stress and anxiety in our brain and in our entire system. So that actually impacts our health. Like to put it into like desirable benefits, like it impacts your testosterone, your fat. Like if people are thinking like I want to be more fit, more energy, more vitality, like social interaction, having like that social contact is literally changing like our internal metabolism, our chemistry, taking us out of this feeling of like fight or flight, low grade anxiety or low grade agitation where you're kind of just like, I don't know why I'm tired. I kind of want to eat a little bit more. Like I always notice that when I'm not socializing as much, I
Yeah.
just want to eat more. I want to like watch podcasts and kind of get like that dopamine.
Yeah,
But when I'm with other people,
void with something. There's a void. You're trying to fill it. So
yeah,
hey, in the community, you're gonna look for something else. But that's pretty much how most of people's problems work. With problems with addiction, there is something that they're not getting. They found out. Oh,
mhm,
this kind of gets that feeling to go away. Let me keep doing it. It's not the root of it, but hey, it's keeping that feeling away. And if you don't know any better, you'll just keep using that as a way to get away from that feeling. When there's another way, but you don't know it. So yeah,
yeah,
you got that.
yeah, that's a great insight. Like, why do we overeat? Why do we watch the things,
Hmm.
binge watching online? Why do we go to like the hyper stimulating dopamine things? Like everybody knows I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And you just mentioned something really big is because we're trying to fill some kind of hole. We're trying to medicate some kind of emotion. And
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of time we don't relate it to what the cause actually is, right? We think it's just like willpower. Like, I don't know how to stop doing this thing. It's just my willpower. When in reality, it's like, well, what if we have more cravings because we didn't sleep as good? We're antisocial. We're not connected to like a purpose with other people. We don't have like enough handshakes in our day or hugs or even like eye contact.
Yep.
And so we're not connecting the dots between like why do I have these like crutch addictions, and we're not making the connection between like a lifestyle that's how does Dr. David Buss put it? He says it's an evolutionary mismatch to where society nowadays isn't giving us what our biology really wants, which is like, that tribalism, like we're hunting together, we're killing the food, we're eating together, we're sharing, we're exchanging, we're like, slapping the guy in the back and being like, good job. Like,
Yep.
all of that actually regulates our health. And so I think that's impacted me, and how to like fix that in this society. I think the statistic is that in America,
Hmm.
um, the average amount of friends that a person consistently interacts with on a weekly basis is like two. But then over in other countries, like Scandinavian countries, it's like above 10. Like
Wow.
they're consistently, on a weekly basis, checking in, asking how they are, joking around, and like having that easy social contact where it's like they know you. You don't have to like fake it. And so the
For them,
question
it's
for me
part
has
of
been
life.
so
They,
long.
they don't have to perform anything. For them, it's just a part of life. Okay.
Yeah, it's just they're just there, and
Hmm.
it's like this feeling that someone's checking in on you, someone cares about you, someone's looking at you and being like, "Oh, you're doing that? Hmm." And then you kind of get that feedback, and you're like, "Oh." And so you're exchanging so many things on so many levels that you don't get when you either only have online work or online friends or like video game friends. And so for so many years, I've kind of tried to do it on my own and not had enough community or friendship or even like a dating life.
Hmm.
And so I've had a couple of different things that I'll share that I think are helpful to kind of like remedy that. And then I'll let you share what you think. For me, I think for sure getting involved in some consistent community is like vital. So like whatever your hobby is, like I would go on meetup groups and I would find like rollerblading groups or like a drum circle or any kind of sport or a meditation group or like a Toastmaster club. So getting involved in some kind of club and then showing up on a weekly basis, that's helped me so much. Like even right now, I go to Toastmaster group once a week, and every single time I don't really want to go, but then I go, I'm like, I'm so glad I went. Like
Real quick,
it's
can you go
so
into what
helpful.
Toastmaster is?
Toastmaster is a group of professionals that come together to practice networking and public speaking.
Okay, gotcha. So
So
y'all not like toasting bread and stuff.
yeah,
Making the best toast there is.
that would be funny. A guy actually brought tasty cakes this
Mm,
this previous meeting, and
mm,
so that usually doesn't happen. But it's surprising to me because he's like this buff, lean guy, and he brings in these tasty cakes. I'm like, wow, this guy eats tasty cakes. He's like a
yeah.
gamer, and it was different. But there is this sense of community there where you see the same people every week. We're all gathering together to sharpen the same skill, and so
Mm,
we have like things that we can talk about. It takes off the pressure because you can always have something to talk about and relate to. So that's been huge for me because, especially if you don't have some kind of spiritual or religious gathering that you can go to, which I really recommend.
mhm.
Although I totally understand how a lot of people don't have that, and that's fine. There's different ways to get that sense of family,
Yeah.
whether it's like CrossFit, hard exercise works, group exercise classes. I think that's the main reason why people actually go to these things.
Yep.
But finding out what that is for you, I feel like that's a huge step in your physical health and getting your life back together and like fixing even mental problems. Like a lot of people, they have a lot of different problems with their health that they all tie in together. And so to make that connection between like integrating everything together so that each piece can work better
Mm-hmm.
instead of just focusing on like one.
Yes.
So that's what I would say. But
What was
what would you say?
but before you go to me, what were the other two you were going to say after the Toastmaster one? You were going to say two more ways.
Um, Basically, like meetup groups
Like a
are
meeting.
really important.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you have like that spiritual community,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's tremendous because meeting up and seeing the same people over and over again, and you're all trying to be the best version
Yep.
of yourself. So that's great. I don't think that it's necessarily the best strategy to rely on work for your
Mm-hmm.
social life because that can get kind of tricky and
Yep. You got to
um,
navigate those people. Yeah.
yeah, it's fine, but I don't think you should rely on it. And then
Mm.
obviously, if you have like family, that's really, really important. That could be very stabilizing, but not everybody does.
Yeah. No.
And then obviously, like your friends, you meet up intentionally, whether it's like I have friends who I can't physically see, but I call them once a week. So I'll just like chat with them once a week. Just staying in touch, whether that's like playing a video game online, like we would get on the Switch and we play like Mario Party or something, anything like that. So, but I do feel like it's easy to just fall into like the silo of not having like literally any of that.
Yep.
It's so I think it's not just me. Like I can definitely tell it's a lot of guys who kind of fall into that, and that's just like this downward spiral.
We've never experienced it before. That's pretty much what it is. Everybody's like, "Oh snap! I've never experienced this before. Let me see what everybody else is doing. Oh, everybody else is doing it. Okay, let me just do this." And then if it depends on the environment, because some people, hey, they come out of it and be like, oh, I've never experienced this before. They're going to go to what their culture or who they're around is doing. So if there's a lot of community here, they'll probably just stay with the church and build on that. But say if they don't have something like that, they'll be like, okay, what is everybody else doing? Oh, I see. All my friends are going, they're leaving here, going there. They're working. I need to do this. Okay, I'm going to just go and work. And they don't.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with it until there's something wrong with it. You don't know something's wrong until
Mhm.
something shows you like, I don't think I'm
Mhm.
getting what I need to get out of this. Let me try to figure that out. But
Yeah.
yeah, you get stuck in that, right? Like I like to go back to when I was to the community aspect of cross country. I'm always reminiscing about those days because I don't know, just something about running with a lot of people. It's just like so
Mm.
good. Like I'm always reminiscing about it.
Yeah.
Like the days where
Yeah.
in high school we would go, the coach would tell us to go run. We go wherever around the city, and we're just running, and I was just like reminiscing because
Mhm.
it felt so good. It felt I don't know how to say it, but it's just
Yeah.
nice having, you just have boys, we're just messing around, running wherever. Calls it probably. There was one time we ran through a mall, right, shirtless and everything. We just ran through it. And of course, me looking back, I'm like, I should have done. We kind of got in trouble. But those are the things that you look back on. And you're like, those are some good
Oh,
times. I
yeah.
wish to repeat that time again because you can't recreate that feeling if you're just by yourself. You have other people to share it with. You'd be like, I remember those days. Yeah, reminiscing. That's what community
Yeah.
is about. You need
Yeah.
that. You need people around you. You need people to do things with. You can't. But what's the point in you being able to do things? Oh, one thing I like to do is help people, right? What's the point in you, right, having all this power and you can't help anybody with it? What's the point in you having power? What are you doing with the power? Nothing. You're
Mhm.
just holding. You're just stockpiling it. Like if we go to anime, where all for one, right? He's taking all the powers for himself. You're not doing anything with. He just wants all the power for himself. Whereas you have All Might, he's giving it away. He's helping people. Deku, he's like, oh, All Might's doing that. I want to help people too. And Deku does whatever he can to help somebody. And that's what I feel like. Hey, you can't have all this, knowledge and information, all this perspective and things, and just keep it to yourself. Because guess what? It won't expand. You won't even get more powerful. You're going to get more powerful seeing what you can do with that power, seeing what other people can do with that power, and building on top of that. We need to help each other. We need to be with each other. Yeah, no, I totally agree
Mhm.
with the community aspect. Whatever way you can find it,
Huge.
good.
Yeah, I think that's huge because also I feel like people nowadays, they don't make that connection between um, the metaphysics or the spirituality of what happens when you actually do share with people and connect with people. You can look at it scientifically. It doesn't have to be like this voodoo thing, but there is definitely something that happens to your energy, to your life when you're not just hustling for you, like you're hustling for a cause.
Mm-hmm.
So, I fell into this thing where I was just like, I felt the pressure of like, I gotta make money. I gotta be able to like be a certain level of success. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in the industry that I'm in, it's not easy to actually be like successful,
Yeah,
like
no,
health coaching.
nope.
You have to really be different and you have to understand marketing and da 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 da. So it's kind of tempting, and a lot of guys probably feel this is where you're just like, you gotta go into monk mode. There's even like, I don't know if you get these YouTube ads where it's like disappear for a month and become
Yeah,
the most dangerous person in the room.
I was subscribing to that for the longest. I mean, like, I got to be at this level before I can help somebody. I was putting that limitation on myself.
Right.
No, you can do it now. You're gonna learn better if you do it now. Don't wait till till you get to a certain level. You might not ever get to that certain level. Guess what? You're stuck at that certain level. You need to let it out. That's the best way to do it. You let it out. You see what works and what sticks. Experience is the best teacher. I
Yeah.
get a lot of that. Yeah, felt like I
Yeah.
had to
You
get.
let it out. Yeah, that's a huge thing because you're right. I did feel like I had to get to a certain level before I start helping people or like getting myself out there, even socially. Sometimes as a guy, you can feel like if you're not already a certain level of success, that you just want to hustle until you're like in your own mind successful enough to be like, now I'm confident because I have my ducks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Where that's just completely unnecessary because people don't even really care that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just in your mind. So I had this thing in my mind where I was like, I gotta I gotta be making a certain amount of money, or I can't go socialize and be confident or feel like I belong if I don't have like um a career that's like successful. I'm just gonna feel inferior. All just like rubbish that all just prevents you from actually going and like building to the next level. I held myself back. And so um the fear of being seen, the fear of being like transparent and just like admitting where you're at, is actually stupid, because I found that when I actually went out and I was just honest, like, yeah, even if I said something like, yeah, life kind of sucks right now, I don't have like a career, or I don't really know what my career is,
Hmm.
people don't care. They're actually
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like, I hate my job. Like, you actually connect through that. So just by throwing your spaghetti on the wall, not caring, just being transparent, like, yeah, life sucks right now. Like, my health is just in the garbage can, so I'm working on it. Like, people respond to that. People like that, and you'll feel like, maybe not everybody, if you're feeling like weak or tired, but people, a lot of times I feel they'll respect like your authenticity and your congruence, to the
Hmm.
point where they'll be like, oh, I want to help this guy, instead of just being like, no, fuck this guy, like, judge this guy. Like, I feel like that only happens when you try to fake it, or like try to be somebody, like, yeah, like, I got a career, like, I'm special.
Yeah, people
But
can sense when you're
not
not
you.
being authentic to yourself. It's like something feels off about this person. Well, one of the things I'll point out that you did for me was you were always asking me, showing interest in me, and that was always weird to me. I'm like, this guy is asking me for my opinions and stuff. He's acting like I got something to say. That actually made me feel kind of important. But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm not anywhere near that. But you would always just come to me, asking me these health classes, asking me my insight. Oh, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? At one point, I'm just like realizing, like, oh, there's no need for me to be holding myself back. There's somebody who's going to see me and be like, that guy, he
Yeah.
knows. I can get some information from the guy. That guy, he is enough. But I would have never known that. Hey, if you hadn't been consistently being like, I'm gonna keep asking this guy questions. I'm gonna find what makes well, why does this guy do what he does? And I'm over here thinking like, yeah, I'm not making enough money yet. I don't have the knowledge. I don't know. I don't know all that. But
I
you're like,
know.
I have all the knowledge. I'm like, okay, no. Just sometimes you just got to put yourself out there. Somebody's going to see it. Nobody knows your story until you bring it out. Nobody knows what's going on in your head until you let it out. You don't know what somebody's thinking until you let it out, that type of thing. So we have all this thing created, right? And then you look down and be like, oh, no, I'm not saying you're looking down on the person, but sometimes, you're climbing that mountain and you look down and be like, oh, wow, this is how far I've come. And other people are able to see, oh, wow, this is what you can help bring me up too. So that was one of the things that I really appreciate that you constantly did. I mean, it was weird for me because I've never I acknowledged that when people did that to me, but your consistency in doing that was like eye opening to me. Like, oh, okay, I got something to say. I can provide value, to somebody.
Yeah, yeah, everybody knows something that you don't know, and it's easier to socialize than people think. One thing that I really struggled with was actually thinking like, what am I gonna say? Am I
Mhm.
good enough to like talk to these level of people? Am I good enough to talk to this level of
Mhm.
woman? But
Yep.
once I started to realize that, it's more about being interested in other people and putting your attention, instead of on me, onto
Mhm.
them, and just like externalizing my consciousness, instead of thinking like, well, I'm sick, or I'm
Yep.
insecure, or I'm nervous, or like I'm this and
Just
that.
me,
No,
me,
now I'm just
me,
like,
me. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not
me.
somebody
It's
else. Yeah.
like, it doesn't work. And then when I heard Fred Dawson just say, externalize your attention, just like focus on other people. People are interesting. People are like more interesting than anything. People are more interesting than Pokemon.
Yeah.
People are like walking books. People are like walking batteries that you could like charge each other together with. People are really like the spice of life. And so once I started actually just realizing like how interesting other people are, and you know Abraham Lincoln said he learned something from everybody.
Mhm.
And so if Abraham Lincoln can say that he's learning something from everybody, then I'm like, well, then people become like treasure troves of knowledge too. And so I had to drop all my ideas of like, like, you're not good enough. Same thing with women. Like, they don't think that you're not good enough unless if they feel like you're thinking that.
Mhm.
And so just being fascinated by people and kind of seeing it kind of like a experiment is just practical things that help me get out of my cage. Because when you feel like you're in that cage, and when you feel like, "Oh, I'm not good enough," it's hard to actually get yourself to like do the work to even find the sport or the group or the friends. You just disqualify yourself. And so
Exactly.
it helped me so much to like just realize it's all in your head. Stop disqualifying yourself. Just take your spaghetti, throw it on the wall, and see what sticks. It doesn't matter. You can laugh at it. And I feel like so many people have like these boundaries, keeping them from actually doing very simple things,
Mm-hmm.
to where it's not so easy just to say like, oh, just relax, just socialize. Like people actually have like passcodes that you have to like help them like put the key in and unlock it, and then like, oh, like now I can do it,
Yeah,
because it's
that's
surprising how
what they
many
use
things
drinking as. A lot of people say, "Yeah, I need to drink. I need to not be sober so I can have this conversation." Hey, take a drink so now you can start talking.
Mm,
For me, I'm like,
mm,
at one point I was like, okay, no, I'm growing up, I was like, oh, I'm just going to be this shy person, not talk or anything. And then when I came to my job where, hey, you need to talk, you need to perform in front of people, I realized, oh, that is super detrimental. Now come, 4 years later, that person who I once was, I look back and be like, really? It, there was one day where I was getting
perform.
trained up. I'm talking in front of people and I got tripped up on my words and I just stopped talking. I'm trying to talk, but I can't talk. And everybody's giving me pity claps. And then that day in my head, I was like, no, never again. So I made sure, to work on my socializing skills, my presentation skills, so that never happened again. But, for uh, 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 for me to whatchamacallit, to do that, hey, I had to put myself out there and realize that, oh, no, open up to people, talk to people.
Mhm.
Now, I don't care who it is, I will go and talk to them as if we are equal.
Mm,
I'm like, yo, what's up?
mm,
There is no, I'm not scared of the person. I'm not scared of whoever I talk to. I'm like, oh, this person has a big title to their name. They're doctor something. No, I'm gonna talk to you regular. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing. What are you gonna do to me? If anything, you're just gonna say no. I don't want to talk to you. That it. My job requires me to go to everybody, so it's kind of like just broken that social how would I say, social anxiety, like, oh, I got oh no, what are they
mm.
gonna say? That's yeah, like you're saying, getting out of your head. No, sometimes you just do it and you find out, oh, I survived. I'm good. I'm not dead. They didn't hit me. They didn't beat up on me. I'm, oh, oh, I said something awkward. Oh, okay. Who cares? They probably forgot about it. And if they didn't, hey, they're gonna bring it up and it'd be like a funny thing to say. Okay. Boom. Yeah, but
True.
yeah, no. You gotta
This
get
is really important. This is so important. All these little nitty gritty details, because a lot of times, like you're in the social situation, like even last night, I go to the temple. There's certain people in the group that you're kind of nervous to talk to, whether
mm-hmm.
it's like pretty girls or you mentioned like high status individuals, right? So in our head, because of whatever reason, pain in the past or something happened, it's just our mental projections. It's not actually true.
Yep.
And so to actually make it easier to take action and actually just like go say something, go do anything, like you said, like you're not afraid. You can just go up and say, "Hey, what's up?" Like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what happens. Like Ty Lopez has this great quote. He says, "The world always forgets. The world has a very low attention span." It's really helped me because even celebrities who mess up like their reputation, 10 years, people can kind of move on. Like Mike Tyson, he raped somebody. He was like a
Mhm.
criminal. And all of a sudden, 10, 20 years go by, you can change things. And even
Exactly.
in the worst situation, you can change things. Like people don't care. People don't remember. You go up and you say something stupid, nobody's gonna think anything of it. Nobody's gonna really care, even if it is embarrassing. It's just gonna be like a little feeling of like, oh, that was embarrassing. And then you can just laugh at it. So that does help a lot. Also, you mentioned, you know, the mental projection of like this person's on the pedestal, like, not putting people on pedestal. I think that's a really good thing to meditate on
Yeah.
because I don't
Yeah.
think they even want to be on that pedestal. I think people just want to be treated like just a normal guy, right?
And if they do want to be on a pedestal, that means, hey, they're taking themselves too seriously. You probably need to get away from them, that type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
You don't want to be
Totally.
around somebody who's like, oh, I'm this, because at some point it's just they're not going to see you as an equal. They're going to start treating you, as if you're beneath them, and you don't want that. It just doesn't work well for the relationship aspect of between you and that person. So yeah, if somebody's holding themselves, making them seem like, yeah, you got to put me on this pedestal, it's like no. You're gonna get out of that situation. Find somebody else to talk to that you can mesh with better. That's gonna serve you more, allow you to get to where your higher self, because hey, that you and that person, you're lifting each other up. But if you're talking to somebody who's like, oh no, I'm the best thing ever, yeah, I mean that will work for some time, but they're only going to pull you up so high as, but not higher than them. If you get higher than them, then oh boy, they're going to have a lot of problems, but they're just going to pull you up just enough to where they can keep you around, and then eventually drop you. You don't want that. You want somebody that you either raise with them or that will allow you to become higher than them and won't be like, oh, yeah, great. Yeah, good job. Supporting.
Mhm. Yeah, that's interesting. So as you say that, I'm thinking it's so important to have your base group of like loyal tribe so
Hmm.
that, like you're saying, you go out, maybe you'll have some interactions with like new people or like the stranger danger type thing where
Hmm.
maybe you do meet someone who's kind of like egotistical and you kind of just don't have a good interaction. You kind of just feel like, "Ugh." Or like
Hmm.
maybe that happens. You go up to like 5 or 10 girls and you just kind of get that like that negative energy. It's so important to have like the bros, the family, the
Yep.
tribe to where like you go back, you can recharge.
Yep.
Because for some time, I actually didn't have that consistent that base, like that home base where you can like plug yourself in.
Yep.
Even though I was going to church, like sometimes you can go to social events and kind of like just go in, go out and not really have those connections. So there is something really important to being able to understand how to have authentic connections that I think people might even be struggling with, especially if you feel like you're, at the bottom of the totem pole or like going through some kind of like unemployment or health crisis. Like, how can you have authentic relationships if you kind of feel like you're kind of like grinding and struggling and like it doesn't feel like things are really clicking because then you can go into like that real hermit mode and there is something to be said about knowing where you're at and maybe you do need like a counselor or like better help or something like that or like maybe you got to talk to your mom and your dad like a couple times a week. Maybe you got to like find that one special person, like that one really close friend to like help you recalibrate. And even starting there, that really helps you like get yourself out of like these lower states, like your energy and your health. And also a lot to be said about paying attention to your health and doing everything you can when you're feeling like you're going through one of these things because you don't want to start stacking the bad habits, the bad diet, the bad isolation, the bad sleep, like all that will just like, and then you're just like, ah, and then things can
Chaos.
just, yes. So, building that momentum, you gotta have some positive momentum.
I'll also say too this. I think what also got me too was time. Just in my head thinking like all the time that it would take to fix something. Sometimes
Mm,
if you don't start, you'll never know how long it's gonna take. But if you
mm,
start, it can be boom, problems fixed like that. Or it can be over
mm,
time. But guess what? If you never start, finding that solution or start doing that thing, guess what? You'll never know how long it's going to. You can come up with your head off. You're going to make so many scenarios. Oh, this is going to take this amount of time. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen until you do it. Hey, you start it. Boom. Like as soon as I was open with my parents, like, hey, this is not what I want to do. I felt so much better. Like all that pain I was going through, all that stress and anxiety, all that depression I was going through, I was good. But I went through like
wow,
a year, right? And that goes to show you for a year, only for it to be gone in less than a day. And
wow.
if I never, was open with them, honest about, hey, my true feelings, guess what? I'd still be in that pain for however long it took. And then I'd be wondering, oh no, I should have told them this. I'm still going through that pain. I don't want to feel the pain. Hey, guess what? It went away like that. So a lot of the times, hey, you just got to start something and you be consistent with it. Don't worry about how it's going to look, because nobody knows how it's going to pan out. But just know that your solution could just be right there. Don't worry about how much time it's going to take, because you don't know where that time is going to lead you, you know, into getting better that you're looking for. Because sometimes the solution you're looking for is not always the solution you're expecting. Maybe even something
Mm.
you might not even know you are at the solution, but guess what? You're doing a lot better. And then one day you're going to look back and be like, oh, there was one point where I was like, just so scared and having so much anxiety about this happening. And now you're in a different place in life. And then you look back and be like, oh, this was what I was asking for. I didn't even realize that. And maybe
Mm.
like 8 years have gone by and you've been working at it for 8 years. You didn't even notice. That's how, that's how freed you were and just accepted the process. You just did it and you moved. But hey, guess what? If you never started, you still be in that rut and you would never know. You could come up with all the simulation in your head, but you never know until you take that leap. You do it. That's what
Yeah,
I.
so let me ask you. That's super interesting that you say that because that's very interesting wisdom. A lot of times you don't even know what the solution could be and how easy it could be. It's like you think that it's like this giant that you gotta like go to war with, and all of a sudden you just realize like this isn't as hard as I thought it was. Was that for you letting go of the pressure of like having to be a doctor?
Yes. I wouldn't say having to be a doctor, because no, there wasn't that pressure of having to be a doctor. It was more of a pressure of how are you going to support yourself. You can't, um
Mm.
in today's economy, it hit me like a truck, realizing how much things cost, how expensive it is to live, how expensive
Mhm.
it is to get a house, what I want my quality of life to look like. And so it was more so of the pressure of being like, okay, there's a way to do it, but I'm not, it's not aligning with me in this moment. Like, I'm not like, oh, okay, because being a doctor, it's not something you can just wing it. And that's what I've been doing through most, from school, all the from elementary school all the way up. Just wing it here and there, and I was able to pass by. But now, you actually have to work. You actually have to want this. Like they say, hey, don't get into this career for money. And if you're not that type of person, like for me, I'm not the type of person to be motivated by money. I'm more motivated by intrinsically. Like if I want to do something, hey, I'm gonna do it. I can't fake it. So if there's not something I want to do, I can't fake it to like make myself do it. It's gonna be a struggle. I'm gonna keep fighting uphill. So it was me being open with them and being like, all right, I know this is the way that it can be done. You've done it. I've seen. So I know, hey, this is some part of me that can do it, but it's just not me. I got to
Mhm.
do my own thing. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to work on. I want to do
Mm.
the personal training, working on content creation. Do it my own way. That's the way that's speaking to me. That's the way that comes easiest to me. I will grind as hard as I can, because hey, this is what I want to do. The same energy I would have put into med school, same energy I'm putting into this. Like I said, my dad says I'm the hardest worker, because I'm always, working. If I could, I'd be working all day. If I could, go in there. I'm a very good worker, unfortunately, and so
Yeah,
I
me too.
gotta make it. Uh, I'm a good worker for myself as well, not just for other people. So yeah, so being open in that, or how would I say? Yeah, that was the pressure of it being like, this. They tell me you got to do this, and that's the best. That is a good way, but it's just not. It's just not clicking. So let me do what's working for me. And yeah, so and after I let them know that, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm glad. Thank
Mm.
you for being honest. I mean, of course, there's probably some disappointment. They look through that, but hey, I'm their child. They're not going to love me any less.
Mhm.
They're still going to support me. They're still there, and they are still there. So yeah, all that stuff I was going through, thinking like, oh no, I'm a failure, all that stuff. No, Yeah, my parents are still there. They're still helping me. And yeah, so it came out the other end. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Well, that's interesting because some parents, they aren't exactly like that. Some
Mhm.
people might feel like their parents are putting that pressure on it. And Gary Vee talks about this a lot. Like he says, even if your parents are putting pressure on you to be something that you don't want to be, he says, fuck them. He says,
Mhm.
like, fuck them. Like he's very strong on this point because there's something about aligning and knowing yourself and aligning yourself with what you really are made to do.
Mhm.
And I think that's really interesting is not living a life according to like what society says is cool or what your parents want you to do or even what you think you might want to do. And so there's this whole concept of like how to explore into like finding your life purpose. There's even like books and courses written on this to understand. Ty Lopez calls it like your Eulerian destiny. Like you look back at 4 different aspects in your life to figure out like what your core strengths and temperaments are. So like for you, looking back, like the 4 questions are: what could you talk about on a like a Friday or a Saturday night
Mhm.
effortlessly? And people are just like, wow, this guy always talks about this. Oh, let
Mhm.
me just cover the other 3 and then I'll let you answer them. The second one is what have you been doing that interests you for like the past 5 or 10 years?
Mhm.
The third one is what have people been saying are your strengths?
Okay.
And the fourth one is since you were a kid, what have you been interested in?
Mm. All right. So remind me of the first one again.
The first one is what can you talk about on like a Friday or Saturday night effortlessly?
Oh, pretty much anything health related, anything that has to do with the human
Yep.
body. Yeah, anything health
Yeah.
related.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
talk about that. Yeah. What's the
Same.
second?
Second one is what do your friends, enemies, parents, what does everyone say that like you're good at?
Discipline. Discipline would be the biggest one.
Mm,
I mean, and that
conscientious.
not because my dad pointed out, like he actually said, "Oh yeah, you're very disciplined." Like other people, they haven't said it, but the things they have said to me is showing that hey, they're acknowledging, hey, this guy, he doesn't break, he doesn't waver, he's just focused, he just does this and
Mm,
nothing else. Boom, the discipline is there. Yeah. What about you?
that's so valuable. Yeah, no. Same thing. I've just always been conscientious. Like I always admired and found it so easy to like be the shinobi who's just always like training, be the monk who's always meditating. Like I always related to like the Rocky Balboa, like the Dragon Ball Z, like you're constantly training. Like it doesn't matter how hard it is. Like I actually related to that to even too much of an extent to
Mm.
where I just like glorify and be like, yeah, the hustle, yeah, just like work your face off. So interesting point. I don't know if you heard about the Hexaco personality score. It's kind of like the
Probably
big
have, but
five.
I don't know if it's that name for it. I don't know the name for it, but keep going, keep going.
So one of the big personality traits in there is
Mm.
Hexaco is an acronym. The C is for conscientiousness. And
Okay,
so there's 25 different personality traits that it breaks down. It's like a test that you can take, like a Myers-Briggs or like a Big Five personality test.
that's what I'm
And so
familiar with.
conscientiousness, yeah, conscientiousness breaks down into 4 subfacets.
Mhm.
And we can go through these if you want, but I want to ask you those other 2 questions. But one is organization, the other is diligence, the other is perfectionism, and um, let me see if I can remember the fourth one. But I definitely relate to all of those. Do you like the organization, the perfectionism, the diligence?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of times with those things, I think everybody's going to relate to it because hey, that's what you. All those things are parts of you being a human. Like you're going to experience all those things. There's always something you can relate to in it, and it's always going to fall back into one of those categories. So yeah, definitely, I can relate to all of them.
But it's good because the conscientious
Mhm.
personality trait, which these 4 facets fit into, it's the most correlated to wealth. Where they
Mm.
find they're looking at millionaires and self-made millionaires, and they see if you don't have the conscientious factor, if you don't perfect these 4 different traits, then it's going to be very hard for you to be able. Oh yeah, prudence is the last one. So like decision making, like knowing good decisions to make with your money, your time. I'm constantly thinking like, what's the big domino? Like, what's the most important thing? Because it's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
unless if you have like a mentor who can be like, son, like I gotta tell you, you do this one thing, your life will change.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's like finding a mentor. Sometimes that's being part of a professional organization. Sometimes that's um, redirecting all your energy. You can be like trying to chop down this tree, but you're doing it with like a stick. And so you got to sharpen the axe, or there can be multiple different things. So having like that philosophical introspection to want to know like how to be efficient,
Mm-hmm.
organized, perfectionist, diligence. Um, I definitely relate to all those things, and sounds like you do too.
Yeah, I just do it. I think it's more of in my own way. Like, you know how you can talk words, right? But as we're speaking words, there's also feelings that we can't describe. We are exchanging as well. So
Mhm.
that's how I would say a lot of the things are, because I relate to a lot of what you're saying. It's just that, hey, my mind works differently. It's not in the way that you're doing it. It's working in my
Mhm.
own way. As but I think we're pretty much on the same wavelength, like with the consciousness, with the introspection. Yeah, like yeah, I do all of that, but I just do it in my different way. So oftentimes I can't
Mhm.
really explain it. Or you can explain it. Yeah, you're gonna explain it your way. I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, I do that too, but I just do it in a different way that can't be explained, or I don't have
Yes.
knowledge to explain in that way that I want to explain. But we are saying the same thing. Yeah.
Yes. I just think it's so interesting to be able to understand the sub facets of things so that
Mhm.
you could see where you can like focus on if you're not getting the results that you want. So back to the whole life purpose thing.
Mhm.
The third question is, what have you been really interested in, like obsessively, and doing for the past 5 to 10 years?
Past 5 to 10 years would be finding out what I'm made of. What can I do?
Mm.
How am I going to build myself for the future? And so that's now
Mm.
really getting into the content creation, being like, okay, I'm on my own now. I can make things happen. I don't have to wait for anybody's permission. All right. If I want to do something, let's try it. Let's build up to it. It's all on me now. Hey, if I mess up, it's on me. I got to just like with the podcast, this was one of the reasons why I did it, because I was hesitant before. I was like, I don't know if I'm really ready for it. I don't know if I'm really ready for this. But then, like, we were talking before, and I realized, like, bro, this is no reason to hold myself back. Let me do this and
Mhm.
see what comes out of it. I'm going to get some more self enlightenment out of this. I get to talk with you.
Mhm.
So personal growth, I would say, that's what
Mm.
that's what I've been working on for the last 5 to 10 years. Just growing myself as a person, growing my ability, seeing what I am capable of, seeing what I can do better. Well, of course, pretty much everybody's doing that, but that's what I would say. I do a lot of things, like with the content creation, with
Mm.
stuff I do at work. Getting better at teaching, stuff like that. It's just me all good being like, okay, at one point, all these little stuff is going to come together. Boom, I'm going to have what I
Mm.
myself to have in the future.
Yeah. That's super interesting. It's very true. I just read recently, I'm trying to remember the book, that his estimate was that only 2% of the world population is actually ambitious.
Mm,
A lot of people, they just want to find that safe place to rest. So I think it's really interesting because I feel the same way. Um, the last 5 to 10 years, I've also just been thinking about like what are the core things that I could start developing so
mm,
that 10 years later I can be living like this completely different life
yep,
and also change who I am. Like the whole idea of personal growth and personal development, really fascinating to me. So I've been focusing on way more than just like the physical health, like what goes into my mind, like my limiting beliefs, what makes me feel nervous, what
mm,
makes me feel inspired, how do I like influence people, how do I improve my communication, How do I improve my relationships in life? How do I find a mentor? How do I find like a good business partner? Like all these things that before I was focusing more on like physical performance or like increasing testosterone or just on money, like
Yep.
investing, all, arguably pretty important stuff to figure out. But now I'm focusing on all of them at the same time and not glorifying one over the other, realizing that, like, yeah, if I lose my physical health, then I can't do any of these other things. But at the same time, if I focus too much only on my physical health, then, what about my social life? What about, yeah, everything? It doesn't really work. So, yeah, it's really cool that you're focusing on your personal development. It sounds like you're experimenting too
Oh
with a
yeah.
lot of things. I'm curious. Yeah, because you're doing different jobs and your social media. So I'm
Mhm.
curious, where do you have like a defined goal, or are you kind of just like improving these skills and have like a rough feeling of where you want to go with it?
So I would actually go. You know how you pointed out what the author said, a safe place to rest. That's really what I'm aiming for. But then I realize as I go through life, just being on my own and stuff, there is no safe place to rest. No, because it's all on you. When you think the world is safe, it's not. It's not safe. Anything can happen. The world doesn't
Mhm.
care. It's gonna throw something at you. So but it's also that
Hard
this
to admit.
the safe place to rest that people are looking for is confidence in their ability to get themselves out of that situation, and that's what I'm looking for. I want to be
Yes.
confident that no matter what happens, I'm able to endure it and get through it, even come out better. So once I have that done, I'll be like, oh, but guess what? You'll never
So,
have it done. But you can put yourself to, be what we call it, just be prepared. The more prepared you
mhm.
are, the better it's going to be. Hey, it's still going to suck and everything, but you always just got to make sure you stay prepared. Because the moment you're not prepared, either you're dead or you're living in squalor. And so you got to
I
choose
think
one.
that's really smart. I think that's really smart. I think, um, especially with COVID that happened, it just shows us how unstable things can really be, and how the other thing that I really love that you said was, there's no such thing as like that safe place,
Mhm.
because anything can happen. And the Stoics in Greek and Rome culture, they always understood that like preparing yourself mentally and preparing your character so that, like you said, no matter what happens, you can either build it back or you can be mentally prepared because you trained yourself not to be so connected to needing like a certain level of wealth or being spoiled. Like, you practice these internal mental practices that make it so that, it doesn't matter if I'm like super duper rich. I can always build it back, and in the meantime I'm still going to maintain my equilibrium.
Yep.
And so I've been focusing on that too. And um in terms of like what everybody's kind of thinking about, of course, it's like, we want multiple streams of income. We want to make sure that no matter what happens with technology or AI, or uh, people are even talking about like a world food crisis that might be happening. There's so many weird things that might happen. We want to have like skills, we
Yes.
want to have the external skills, the career skills, the interpersonal skills, but then also like the character
Mhm.
skills that will hold us together, so that we're not just like, oh my god, like I lost my job, like the world, the economy, just like blah. Like, what happens if there's like a Great Depression? What happens if there's like a war? What happens if you lose your job? Like, there are all these anxiety provoking questions that, people say a nation is born stoic and it dies Epicurean, to where, if we're in this YOLO lifestyle where we're just like not caring and just like never saving any money, never building our character, then it's like what Jesus said: you build your house on a bad foundation, a little flood comes, a little hurricane comes, and then it's just like, and then you're like, how am I going to compete with these guys who have been like preparing for the 10, 20 years until now? And so I love that mindset. I really resonate with it. And I think even beyond just like making money, I feel like it's really the purpose of why we're here is to like develop ourselves through our work, through our service, through our learning. So what are you doing right now in terms of like what are you interested in learning, books? Topic of mentors is also huge. I'm currently looking for a mentor, like an in-person mentor. So yeah.
For me, it would be it's just going out and doing things. It's just do. Ah, that's a do. But yeah, so for me, it's just focusing on doing, executing on what it comes into my head. Because for the longest time, I was like back into, I don't know, say around the COVID days or just coming up from high school. I was looking for that mentorship, that type of stuff. But one of the
Mhm.
realizations I came to was one, I don't have a lot of money to be paying these people. So
Mm.
that's one of the things I realized. And then two, I couldn't execute a lot of what they were saying because I didn't have the perspective. I hadn't gone through life yet. Hey, I'm living with my parents. I'm sheltered. So hey, all this stuff sounds good in theory, but in terms of me applying it, it was just like, but how do I apply it? I don't know how to apply it because hey,
Mhm.
I'm not experiencing, what they're talking about, or I'm not in a space where I can experience what they are saying to do. So through that, it became a part of me like, hey, you're in the library all the time, you have all this knowledge. You're book smart, not street smart. That's what I'll go to. Yeah. So I was very book smart, not street smart. So now it's me just doing, getting that street smart. Okay, seeing actually executing this. So hey, if I want to go and find a mentor, when I go and ask that mentor those questions, guess what? Those questions will actually come from, all right, this is what I've tried. I have perspective to it. And the questions will actually help me and the mentor understand each other, what that mentor should say to me, how they should approach me or how I should approach them, because guess what, I have that perspective. I've done it. This is what I've done. I'm able to bring something to the table. Hey, maybe even the stuff I've done will even help that mentor as well. But if you go in with all the knowledge, no experience, it's it's not going to get you anywhere. Like with the exercise thing, you coming out of
Mhm. Mhm.
college, you have all the knowledge, right? Now you actually get on the floor. When it comes to training people, you're like, oh snap, this ain't working how I thought it would work. And these people don't move like they be moving. My cues are not working how I thought I'd be working. That's because hey,
Yeah.
you just have one way of how you think it should go in your head. No, this is how it really goes. So your ability to adapt. So I just harp on, okay, I
Mhm.
think something in my head, I do it. The other day, there was this video I did that came to me for TikTok shop. I'm trying to do affiliate marketing with that. So I have the product, right? And then the video came to my head, like, oh, I can use this comment to respond. Even though I knew, hey, I got to get to bed, right? I was like, all right, worst thing, no, not worst thing that can happen, but let me execute on this idea before it goes away. So I was eating dinner, and once I finished dinner, I just set up my camera stand, filmed the video, boom, did all that. It was fine. The video didn't get a lot of views, and I didn't expect it to get a lot of views. It got like 80 views or so. But the fact that I was just like, all right, let me execute on this idea and see what happens, gave me peace of mind knowing that okay, it just makes it easier, because I would have never known how many views that video would have got if it was synchronized, if I never did it, if I just let it go. Oh, I'll do it for tomorrow. No, I did it then. All right, I see what I need to do to make it better. Okay, perfect. Now I got it. So yeah, it's just do. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I resonate with that last point a lot too, because, making all the YouTube videos, the podcasts, so many times it's like this, you don't know exactly what to do, which ones to submit. There's so many different like ways to go to find your voice and like the content that you're doing. So right now I'm experimenting with like all different kinds, like teaching more, doing like highly edited videos, doing like tier list videos, doing reaction videos. Like you just keep on having to experiment. And I think it's so helpful to take the pressure off of like having to do something perfect. You know,
Mhm.
Gary Vee says short-term speed, long-term patience.
Yeah.
So he's like short-term speed, not overthinking things, just taking the action within like a realm of like what could be good. So like it's not overanalyzing like what kind of action. It's just doing some kind of action and then observing and being really patient where it might take like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years to actually start getting like traction on that thing and then not giving up. That's really helped me calm down and realize like, okay, I don't gotta be like this crazy Hulk hustler.
Mhm.
I can kind of expect that it's gonna take 10 years to grow a tree.
Yep.
And I don't put all this pressure on myself. Like it only got like 5 or 10 views, or like, why am I not growing faster? Like I only have so many subscribers. Like everyone constantly says, like, stop looking at those metrics. But then, you forget, and a month later, you're looking at the metrics again. You're having these doubts like, oh man, like, should I change? Like, should I change my niche? Should I change my mission? Like, should I change what I'm coaching? And so it's really helped me just stay like on course, just keep on getting better, 1% better. And then you also mentioned, you graduate from college and then you have all this book knowledge and you want to find a mentor. And it comes to the point where it's like, well, like Jordan Peterson says, like, are you actually useless? Like how
Mhm.
do you actually get yourself to the point where you actually can be useful in any way to somebody so that they will grace you with their presence? Like when the student is ready, the master comes. So it's
Yep.
like for me, so many times I've realized my inadequacy to where like, yeah, I might have book knowledge, but then if I don't know how to like interact with the people, or if I don't know how to like make the request for the internship correctly, if I don't know how to write, if I don't know how to speak, if I don't
Mhm.
know the proper like respect and etiquette of how to like approach a mentor, if I don't understand like their mindset of like, they've been doing this 20, 30, 40 years, who am I if I don't at least have like a back proof for my training? Like, how
Yeah.
are you going to win the right to even
Mhm.
be their apprentice? To where
Yes.
it's like, you hear stories about guys who are like, I'll work for free,
Mhm.
and they're just persistent. Like they show up like 50 times. And there's something to be said about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, you have to have a certain weight of salt to you, or else they're just going to be like, no matter how many times you show up, you are a liability. Like you don't want to be that liability. Like you
Yep.
want to have at least the prerequisites of like, I can be helpful to you. And then you add into that like persistence. That's where I'm at right now in terms of I'm looking for like a Ayurvedic physician mentor,
Mhm.
to where, I have a bachelor's. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I could either work for them as an LMT. I
Yeah.
can intern because I have qualifications. I'm building up a YouTube channel. I'm learning marketing. Like you have to have
Proof
um,
of
some
concept.
proof. Yeah, you have to have some proof, even if it's just the degree, the piece of paper.
Mhm.
What really helps is the social proof,
Yeah.
right? What really helps is like endorsements, references, a good resume. Like there's so much that goes into it, but also communication. My gosh, communication, your health. Like
Mhm.
when I look at you, even without you saying anything, I can kind of just tell like this guy is a certain level. Like you can kind of like sense the aura. So like
Oh, great.
health
Mhm.
comes into it, and like your own internal, like your own self-image,
Mhm.
your own confidence, and like your own trust. Like I can just look at you and I kind of sense like this guy ain't like some like slimy salesperson. Like this guy, I can kind of sense like your personality, your integrity is kind of like written on your face. And so,
Selling.
what'd you
That's
say?
probably no. You said I'm not some slimy salesperson. That's probably because I can't sell anything, so I'm not good enough to even be that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting, like the whole everything that goes into a person's perception of you, which is
Mhm.
really like trust. It's really sales. It's really helped me to kind of look at my entire life and try to like improve everything at the same time, rather than just like only working on um, only working on communication or only working on like, negotiation or like trying to manipulate your body posture. Like, no, it's more of like this holistic thing where people
Yes.
can kind of sense, like he has the right intention. He's been living like a decent lifestyle. He doesn't feel like he's just like a gremlin, like a golem. Like this
Yeah.
guy hasn't spoken to somebody in like 3 months. Like, kind of bringing everything like up together. I think that's been really, really helpful for me coming
Yeah.
out of like this weird last struggle.
Yeah, and to your point, where you're saying like, all right, so this is how you see it done. Like, yeah, you can look at, okay, this is how I manipulate my body posture. This is how I negotiate better. But for you, it's more so you just get your story out there. You let people know who you are, and people will come to you. Like I've been telling you before, you're a great storyteller. Guess what? I would love to buy some stuff from you because hey, I feel like I can relate to you. You don't have to use those, body posture tricks and stuff with me because it's just like this is what comes naturally to you, and what's natural is going to resonate. Yeah, some people work where they have to break everything down. Okay, I'm going to work on my negotiation tactics. I'm going to use my body posture. Some people don't work like that. You're more like a person. Hey, you just let it flow. You just tell people your story and you relate to them, build a relationship with them, and boom, you're probably going to get a whole bunch of sales just because, hey, you know how to talk, you know how to tell a story, you know how to get people be like, I see. Okay, now I feel like I can relate to this guy. There's something to relate to with this person through your storytelling of what you've experienced and
Mm,
what you're going through. That's what I see in you. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, thanks for that feedback. That's really, really true, actually, I think the story and actually knowing who a person is so key to actually like connecting and trusting a person, especially if I don't try to like flower it up, if I don't try to be like, over enthusiastic or over sentimental. If it's just like, it is what it is. I'm congruent. If I'm feeling normal about it, I'm feeling normal. Like, I think that's a soft skill that, you know, I guess I'm kind of projecting that other guys may be struggling with this too, but I really feel like if one person is struggling with something, it's a reflection that a lot of other people could also be wondering and struggling with it too,
Oh yeah,
you know?
definitely. Nothing new under the sun, as they say. Yeah, no. If you got the issue, somebody else probably has that issue. Yeah, no. A lot of people have the same issues, but we just have so many people. Like a lot of the issues are overlapping. You have one issue, and somebody can experience it this way, and somebody else experience it that way. It's pretty much the same issue. We're just going about it different ways because, of course, this is life. Anything can happen. You can do things multiple ways. There's multiple ways to get things done. There's multiple paths to success, multiple paths to failure. But if you just keep, so long as we just keep moving forward, keep going, well, we have no choice but to move forward because if we can't stop moving. We stop moving, done, we're dead, pretty much. So we have no choice but to move forward and be active in that forward movement. Yeah, there's no choice, but something's going to happen.
Yeah, so we've been speaking for almost 2 hours now. So just to kind
It
of
works.
wrap it up slowly, your audience is mostly like, I'd say young adults, right?
Well, let me think, because I don't even focus on that. But if I had to go based off biggest platform on TikTok, it's going to be mostly teenagers. Yeah, because teenagers and yeah, but yeah, that young adult audience, but not like my age. Maybe I got a few that are my age, but the majority of it is like teenagers. They're like in middle school. That's based off from what I've seen on TikTok and the
Okay.
YouTube tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super interesting how you're catching their attention.
Mm.
I think is really smart. And then also there's this whole concept of like our society has kind of changed into like this, it's different. So health has to be cool again,
Mhm.
working out, being mindful about your nutrition, being mindful about your social life, your mentality, your sleep. Like, I really feel that this movement is going to change like our generation because there's so many weird things that are happening because of technology, our different culture, our different values, and then also just the health of the food and the soil. So there's so many things that I feel like are automatically setting people up for failure to the point where if you don't have a minesweeper, I feel like you're going to land on a landmine, and you might get away with it when you're young, but when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, I just feel like there's really damaging things that can happen if like this change in society and people's mindsets aren't ingrained. So I really honor and value what we're doing here to help save people from these like disastrous things that are happening. Like we already see it happening, like people in their 30s and 40s getting cancer, you
Yes.
know, poisons and carcinogens on the food in the form of pesticides and glyphosate. Like it's just a crazy world, and it's so subtle. It's kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like you don't think that living this way is going to be bad until it's too late.
Yep.
So it's so sneaky. And so I see the value in everything that we're talking about, even when it comes to like mindset, self-esteem, socializing, having a community, having a mentor, thinking about how to actually like align your destiny towards like what your strengths are. Like all these things go into health. I really don't like the idea in fitness nowadays. Love to get your perspective of how you just see so many channels and things just focusing on like macronutrients and like calories and like only focusing on push-ups,
Mhm.
when the reality is there could be so many more important things in that person's life that's making them actually feel like crap. Like you're full of toxins, you're not sleeping, you don't have a social life, you don't have a life purpose, or your values, are you on like this road to growth, like all that stuff that energizes a person. Like, have you noticed that too? Do you feel like a lot of channels and approaches to health and fitness don't factor in like a broader integrated approach towards health?
So I would say it's not like that is a negative thing. It's more of you can't get everything, right? Because when you try to get everything, you end up getting nothing. So for those people, that have those more, I would say, niche channels, I would say they are good because hey, they're still bringing people in, right? But people that are that need, like you and me, right? We probably seen a few people, or when we were younger, that had those channels, and we're like, okay, they're doing the push-ups and stuff, and we're motivated by it. Like, yeah, let's do it that way, right? But then, we kind of branch out on our own and be like, okay, there's more to this. So I think
Hmm.
they serve a purpose in that, hey, they're like, all right, they get people in the door, right? And then if the
Hmm.
person needs
Hmm.
to, they're gonna venture out. So I would say, like, I don't have any negative perception about them. I know that they're all incorporated in it. Not one person cannot be everything. You're right. So if one person cannot be everything, we can't, like the community. There we go. We got the community, right? Now you have somebody who's doing this, focusing on the physical part of it. Somebody's focusing on the mental part of it. Somebody's focused on the emotional part of it. Somebody's focused on the diet, focused on nutrition. That way, now, hey, everybody's working in the community. Everybody's getting a little bit of everything and everything. But it's just like one person has that knowledge to give, and they give it to everybody else. Yeah, you're gonna get bits and
Hmm.
you're gonna get bits and pieces of it, right? But your bits and pieces are the pieces you're going to take to help somebody else, rather than all right, everybody all encompass into, or everybody trying to be, oh, that one sole person. Then we end up getting nothing done because everybody's trying to do the same thing. But hey, if everybody branches out to what they feel works best for them, yeah, we start moving somewhere. There's multiple different pieces. If you want to build a car, you have the tires, you have the doors, you have the engine, you have like that. So if you look at it like that, I think it kind of works better that way. And that, hey, we're all a big community. We're all doing it our own way. We're getting people in there. If people want to see this, hey, everybody's going to gravitate over here. People want to see more of this, they're going to gravitate all over here. So you got to kind of let how would I say, the population or mass consciousness dictate what's going to be the focus of it. Right now, the mass consciousness is focused on, how would I say, for men, it's like, okay, getting on the roids and getting super big, right? That's what they like to see. And at one point, it was calisthenics. When the calisthenics came out, everybody was like, "Oh, let me get into calisthenics to doing it." I remember, like, around middle school at that time, it was just all about calisthenics. So different parts, but also too, it depends on where we are, or what we're being exposed to, because what I'm seeing and what you're seeing are totally different. Like for our social media pages, we could be have two different for you pages, or I say for you page, but I'm talking about like the explore page based on our interests. So what you're seeing, right, that's what you're seeing, and then what I'm seeing, that's what I'm seeing. But as a whole together, hey, it's all coming together in terms of just making it work for the person, because not everybody works the same way. We got to have multiple different avenues for people to learn, to get exposed to that. So that's what I'll say about it.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying, because you see it in healthcare too, to where people have specialties,
Mhm.
and it's good that they have specialties, because then they're really good at being the chiropractor who can fix necks, right? But the thing is, sometimes you see, and you see this in the fitness industry too, is that certain professionals, they won't give the full picture. Certain professionals will kind of like make it seem like they got the magic thing, like this solves almost everything, and so they won't refer out, and um they won't give the honest picture of like,
Offer
this is
themselves, yeah.
the full picture. And then sometimes you even have like the charlatans who are selling like snake oil, and you see that in like the supplement industry. And like, when I was taking like all the supplements, like I got even worse health problems. Like some people are getting like horrible acne from these like fake foods. And so there's definitely a corruption part of anything in life,
Mhm.
right? So we're part of the movement where it's like we're trying to educate and give
Yep.
the full picture.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we have a specialty, and I might focus on mind body medicine. I might
Mhm.
focus on like thinking yourself into fitness, but there's different pillars of health. So for some people, they might have to go to like the sleep guy because their
Mhm.
sleep is so effed up. And some people might have to go to the stress guy, like, oh, I'm gonna go to John because like he's really into meditation and
Exactly. Yeah.
understanding like how to decrease stress. And so it makes sense that you can have like a specialty, but at the same time, we're complicated as like humans, because sometimes you kind of have to get a lot of things right to even make one thing right.
Yep.
So like if someone wants to lose fat, well, maybe they have to decrease their stress,
Mhm.
not commonly talked about. Maybe they have to fix their sleep, not very commonly talked about, or, it should always be included.
Yep.
And maybe they have to detox because they have like plastics and like hormone disrupting chemicals, which really isn't talked about a lot.
Mhm.
And you see a lot of people only focusing on like exercise and calorie counting. And then they're wondering, like, well, why haven't I been able to lose weight in like 20 years and I'm getting fatter? And like, so just this idea that we're expanding our understanding of how to integrate everything together so that things start to actually function. I
And I
think
would
that's a
say that's
super important part.
for that person that's like, okay, I'm actually not getting what I'm getting from this person. I need to find the person that's talking about what you're saying that is lacking. So that's where you come in. That's where you play your role in. So that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, you got people doing this. It's not working for me. Let me find that person. You see a lack in the industry, right? So now you become that person that fills that lack. And that's where you shine. But guess what? If everybody was doing what you're doing, there would be any space for you. I mean, yeah, you could fit in there, but you're just like everybody else, pretty much. And then also too, going but back to what you said, the corruption part. I'm sure for us to get to where we are in our careers or just in our headspace, we have to be burned a few times. So this is also like a nod to, hey, we need some corruption, because without that corruption, or that negative thing where we bought something, be like, oh, this didn't work for you, oh, we got scammed, that type of thing, we wouldn't know, and we wouldn't be able to use that to tell people, okay, this is why you don't want to do this, is what happened to me, this is why you shouldn't go down that path, come over here, let's go over here instead.
Mm,
You have perspective now. But without that happening, so you got to take the bad with the good, to get something better.
mm.
Yeah, so you're the one filling in
Yeah,
that you want.
that's interesting. I like how you have this like habit I noticed about like how you view things, is that you don't judge things. Like even if there's like people in the industry who are scamming, you kind of reframe it and you see it like, well, that person's helping you learn prudence in life. That person is helping you by being scammy. They're actually teaching you like, well, you got scammed by that scammer. So
Yep.
like, what does that do? That like helps me be able to be more careful. about what I believe, how well I research, or how well I trust somebody with my health.
Yep.
Because, if we're not researching anybody, if we're not researching our trainers, our food, our supplements, if we're not researching our doctors, and we're just putting our health in their hands, then that's giving them all the power to just be like, I'm going to milk this guy dry, and this guy's not going to know anything because this guy's an idiot. Like, this guy doesn't know anything about nutrition or health or sleep. This guy's just going to like eat everything that I tell him, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't get better in a year. I'm just going to tell him it takes time. And so that's really a good reframe, because sometimes you can just get like really really antagonistic against the scams.
Yep.
And there's always going to be scams. There's always going to be people doing that. So we just have to get smarter and smarter and wiser. And they teach us that in a really hard way, about the nature of like organisms too. Like, organisms are constantly just trying to like, get the most from others for the least in them,
Exactly.
unless if there's some kind of like altruistic.
Yeah.
But most of the time, organisms are like that. So you
Yep.
got to really learn, like, okay, who's the kind of person that I'm going to associate with, and how do I know? So,
yeah.
So yeah, to wrap things up, I mean, this has been a tremendous conversation. I really appreciate everything that we've been able to go through. It's been really, um, really a lot more than just like talking about diet or nutrition. It's really been a lot more about like orienting our life in the right way. We talked a lot about like mindset, about struggles that a lot of guys are dealing with nowadays when it comes to like even career, life purpose, um, morals, how to like get out of their shell, how to be more social, how to fix like the social part of life, the ethical part of life. So maybe next time, if we do another one of these, we can talk a little bit more about like the more obvious things, like maybe a little bit more on sleep, because I would really love to hear your opinion on sleep, although we don't have time right now. Sleep, diet, exercise. Um, so I did want to ask you kind of like a fun, silly question. So if you were stranded on a desert island and you can only have three foods for let's say 5 years, you had to only eat three foods, what would you choose?
3 foods, 5 years. And now this is where people go and they start asking all the specifics, like, oh, am I getting the nutrients from this? Do they have to be this type of food, this type of food? Now I'm gonna keep it simple. I would choose, I like rice and beans with plantain. Oh no, that's 3 foods already.
Mm.
In one
That
meal.
does sound pretty good,
That's
actually.
where the specifics come in. All right, but all right. So let me ask that then: is it a meal or is it just like one singular food? Food, as in like apples, broccoli, that type of stuff. So are you talking about a
So
meal?
like three different kinds of food. So like that would be three different things, like rice, beans, and plantain.
That's all right there. Then that's my answer. Boom. Rice, beans, plantains. Boom. Perfect.
Interesting answer, because it actually makes me want to eat that. It sounds delicious, and I feel like it does have a lot of everything, like
Mm-hmm.
the beans, the protein, the minerals, the rice for the starch, and then the plantain for probably minerals. Like, why would you choose those three?
Oh, just because they taste good. Keep it simple. It tastes good when it mixed all together. Yeah, boom. But then I can even go further and be like, oh, wait, not just rice, beans, and plantains, because then I got to season it, and the seasoning takes food to season it, because I get tomato soup in
Yeah,
there. But yeah, so it would be that meal. Yeah, that meal. That's the meal I like a lot.
it does sound like a tasty meal, and it
Mhm.
does also sound like a nutritious meal. Let me ask you another kind of fun health question.
Only if I
So
can ask you one.
let's say you're let's say you're able to be alive in 100 years, right? So like you're 127 years old, and you're looking at society, and you actually are telling like your kids and your grandkids, probably your great grandkids, and you're telling them about how life was today in terms of like how the world worked, how people behaved, our healthcare system, our fitness and supplement system. What are you going to be telling them to where they're going to be thinking like, really, like 100 years ago, America was like that, like the world was like that? Kind of like we look back 100 years and we're like, wow, doctors really believed in like putting leeches on people. Like we really had to like pick food with our hands. Like we didn't have machines. Like, what do you think we're gonna look back in 100 years and think like, oh my God, this was so messed up how we did things nowadays?
I think it's gonna be having multiple jobs. It's just trying to work to survive. Because I tell you,
Mm,
I started once I got into the workforce. I'm just like, man, I can't stop working because if I'm not working, if I'm not earning money, there's no way to afford to live here. And hopefully things get better. But I'm assuming since I'm 127 years old and I have met multiple generations, right? The world got better, right? So yeah, that's what I'll be telling them. They'll probably have figured out a better system. Like maybe the world will be to where, hey, we can just exist and there's no
mm,
cost to existing. But by that time, if it's life like that, and then so when I do say, hey, I had to work 2, 3 jobs, find another stream of income, and do this just to make sure I got to this point. Yeah, I'm sure that's one of the things that they're gonna be like, oh wow, that was
mm.
sometimes even sacrificing my sleep. How about you? What would you tell your future generations about that?
Real interesting. Just real quick, I want to ask you, do you think that with like AI and technology that we're gonna actually be able to like provide for people so that there's gonna be like some kind of, UBI, universal basic income, like
Oh yeah.
um how do you see like 100 years? Like because you mentioned that people are working too much, right? And struggling with finances and maybe even like the quality of their shelter. Like how do you see that's gonna change?
Yeah, so I definitely think that's going to be one of the things that has to go. Because hey, it's just going to get to a point where it just boils over. Everybody just like, all right, we got to change the system, and the reason why it hasn't changed yet because collectively we're not all fed up enough yet. Because that's when but I know that's for me when I want to when I am I'm stuttering now when I am most inclined to change something, when I don't feel comfortable, when I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not want to go through this. This is terrible. I'm going to go change it. So once we're all collectively like, okay, we're willing to put our lives on the line to change this to make it better, yeah, that's when it's going to happen. But as far as AI goes, I like AI. Kind of imagine having what you call it, like Cortana and Master Chief, that kind of relationship, because right now I use Chat GPT just to
Mhm.
write my lesson plans and stuff for my teaching, or to write some emails
Nice.
and or to refer to. I'm like, okay, hey, I also went to, because I was like trying to sell on TikTok. I'm like, okay, hey, this video did really well. I got like 20,000 views on it, but I got no sales. What do you recommend I do to make, a video that will get sales? How can I, change the video up? It wrote me down a whole script for me to use and be like, hey, try this. I haven't tried it yet, but the fact that I'm able to, instead of me, asking you, right? Because you're going to give me your knowledge, whether you know it or not. But ChatGPT is going to pull it from everywhere. Okay, this is what works best for this situation. It's streamlined it all down into these few things. This is what I feel is going to work best. Taking the knowledge from the internet, of course, where everybody's putting their ideas in and putting it all down into one. This is what the best outcome is. So yeah, having something like that in the next, I guess, say 60 years would be great for me. And I think that's just going to help people a lot. Just having something to refer to, assuming that everybody has access to it. In that way, they can have that upward mobility of getting to where they need to be. But definitely, I think it will get to the point where people need a um, universal basic income will be great. Getting to that point where hey, we can just live. We can be born, exist, and just exist because we are here and exist how we need to exist without having to work to exist, that type of thing.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that's definitely where we see the world heading. Even
Mhm.
now, is that things are getting easier and easier. We have more time. We have all these machines.
Mhm.
Maybe we're even gonna have like the Jetsons to where, the machines are actually doing all the farming for us,
Mm.
and they're actually able to, like, I don't know, maybe cyborgs who are like even doing our laundry or like cooking for us, to the
Oh,
point where there might be this whole thing. I don't know if you saw this movie Elysium, to where like the rich have all these like technological benefits, but then there's like, the 95% of humanity that doesn't have it.
I haven't seen that movie, but I do know the premise is similar in a lot of other movies I've seen. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's common.
Yeah. It's kind of unclear to see where it's going to go. If there's going to be like a bigger disparity between like the rich having like all these healing machines and like advantages. So I'm not sure. All I know is that how we use it is really going to determine if there's still like that discrepancy, or if like there's still like a bunch of poor people just like really struggling. Or if there's going to be like, imagine if there was like some kind of 3D printer, or like, ability to use some kind of like construction machine where you don't need cranes. You can kind of just like construct shelters with like some kind of electromagnetic powers. That would be amazing, because then we can change like, houses and buildings, and,
It's
getting
great.
transportation.
We'll be just like
Transportation is
from Invincible, where she can just manipulate matter into whatever she wants. Yeah, so long as she knows the composition of it. Adam Eve, yeah.
Oh, I never heard of that person. Like Uraraka or something,
Yeah.
gravity
But
powers. We
with
don't know what
that's another good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what Elon Musk is gonna do with like transportation. We don't know if we're gonna have underground like magnet trains. Like, it's gonna be I'm pretty excited to see where technology is gonna go even in the next 10, 20 years. So I would say, if I was looking back 100 years, I'd just be surprised about the education system. Like,
Ooh, good point.
in my perspective, if we taught people like more about emotional intelligence, more about business skills, more about like social intelligence, more about like arts, music, things that kind of expand the consciousness. Like, I definitely support like having literature and having kids read about like the classics. I think that's great. Um, but more psychology classes, more classes exploring the internal aspects of like health.
Mhm.
Like growing up, I never had like a real health course at all. So I'm eating all this garbage. And so I think a lot of mental problems come from that too. So I think they would be surprised at like how much time we commit to like
Finding
our
health.
education. Hmm?
How much time people commit to finding health when for them it's probably like, oh yeah, you don't do that already. I'm like, yeah, that's insane. For us, everybody's trying to figure it out. Like we don't know what we're doing. I kind of get that
Yeah,
hesitation.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy that we're not learning this stuff growing up. It's super interesting too. I think kids would be much more engaged if it was like practical information about like how to be more effective in talking to women. Like, that could sell easily. Like, you would have guys' attention in class if we were talking about interpersonal skills, or
Hmm.
like, how to actually increase your energy so you can run faster. Like, everything about nutrition, so that you could think better, so that you could be more of a stud. Like, kids would soak this up. Or even psychology,
But
like
also
how
that would have to
to
be tailored to how their learning styles are, because then if you have it in one way, like how we will just be they'll just be sleeping in class because this is boring because it's not tailored to how they learn. Like you learn one way,
Mm,
another way.
yeah, like, for example, I hated the idea of having public speaking
Mhm.
class in high school. Like, I dreaded it. But at the same time, if there's other ways to incorporate that to where it wasn't so awkward and formal, like drama. Like, what if everyone had to do drama classes? That's like
No.
you're giving a speech, but it's more like fun because you're playing a character.
Mhm.
I think that all this stuff is really, it's what I'm interested in learning now. And so it would just be so cool that, if it was actually in school growing up, like more sports, music, instruments, like all that stuff that actually expands consciousness. They actually have it in like different yoga schools in India.
But it's
And like,
super.
hmm?
It's probably super small there. It's not like something big that's catching on. Or is it catching
Yeah,
on?
they're working on expanding it
Mhm.
so that everybody has access to like these teachers because it's not easy to have like a program or teachers who are always able to teach this level of stuff. A lot of times it's just like whatever you can mass market. So like in India, they'll have like a lot of tech programs. They just have like online courses that you can take for like 1,000 rupees, which is not a lot of money at all over there. And so that's why you have so many like tech
Mhm.
whiz coming out of India. It's just like easy to expand, but then you kind of get this like person who's not really like socially smart and they're just like really technical,
Yeah.
to where like I kind of see us struggling with that over here too, is that you kind of just focus on like one thing and you don't actually expand
Yes.
what it means to actually be like a renaissance man or like a actual
That's
intelligent
right.
person.
The Indian people you talk about where they're just they're just so focused on work and developing that they don't develop anything else. Would that be your audience that you're trying to tap into?
Mm, I don't know, maybe in the future,
Mhm.
but there's definitely something to be said about like their culture. Like they have to hustle because they're getting paid less money, and over in India, their GDP and their society just isn't prosperous like America. Like we have it so good and so easy, we don't even realize. Like someone making 30K here feels like they're poor,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
someone who's making 30K USD over there would be like balling, like a
Mhm.
millionaire pretty much. So, we have it so good in America that unless if we have some kind of Great Depression, we're not even going to understand how good we have it.
Yeah.
So hopefully technology can keep on improving, other societies who are really in squalor. But there's so much opportunity that we have in America, like to make money here. It's just surprising how YOLO people are
Mhm.
getting and how loose we're allowed to be. So I think that's also going to be something that people are shocked about. Like, wow, like that culture is kind of like breeding like so many people who are kind of just like entitled and ungrateful and
Mhm.
without perspective about like how good and easy things are, that we're making problems about like, I don't have like a Ferrari, like I only have like a Camry. Like it's kind of silly. So, um, anyways, last thing that I'll ask you, Shayo, is you know, hmm, let's say I'll take this one from this guy that I really like. He says, um, you're only able to write down three things. Let's say you're going to get teleported to another planet, and you're only able to write down three things that, let's say you had kids. Let's say that you're going to leave to humanity, that like people get to read. What are you going to say that, your legacy, your friends, what are the top three things that you want to leave that if people meditated on, you would have them focus more on?
Adaptability. Always be ready to adapt. Uh,
Mm,
accept things as they are,
mm,
and you create your reality. Well, I guess I would go into adaptability now.
wow. I
But
think
yes,
that's even deeper.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's even deeper than adaptability because those three things, like, if I'm looking at them, I'm gonna be thinking like I gotta go on three different adventures to understand these things. Like that'll send me on three quests that I'll have to really develop myself to understand. All right, how do I become adaptable, not just like a one trick pony?
Mhm.
how do I actually like build that stoic mentality to where, you know, I'm able to accept things if it's going my way or the world's way. Like that's those those are three very very profound answers. And then the third one of how did you say it exactly?
You create your reality.
You create your reality. Yeah, that's like the crux of spirituality and yoga, where it's like, all right, how do I understand that? And I have to understand how to actually hack into my body, my mind, my subconscious. Those are deep answers. I would say it would be hard to find any answers that are better than that, because if you have those three,
Yeah.
then you're able to adapt and actually create the outside world. And then the other two are about like, you know, your internal world. So you're learning about yourself, and then you're also learning about how to like create reality too. Nice. And you thought of those right on the fly. How did you know that?
I just looked up here, and then it just hit in my head. There's nothing up here though. So yeah, I just pulled it from the
Yeah, you just pulled it out of the sky. I guess you're pretty intuitive. Would you say you're more like intuitive than you are like analytical?
Not analytical, but yeah, intuitive. Yes, I've always been, and I've always been like that. I just operate based off of feeling. You know, what I'm feeling, that's what I do.
Mm.
You know, I'm always watching people, observing people, and then just moving based on, oh, I feel this. This is what I feel. This is my truth. This is what I speak. I can do the analytical stuff, but no, from young, yeah, always been. It's always here. I'm always thinking, always creating stuff in my head.
Wow, that's interesting because that was we actually didn't answer the fourth one, but you just did like the fourth one about finding your life destiny is like what have you been doing since you were a kid? And you
Mm-hmm.
kind of just said like you've always kind of been imagining and intuiting and kind of feeling
Mm-hmm.
what is beautiful about life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I think I actually have been more analytical,
Yeah, I
and
guess.
now I'm developing more, yeah, more of my like intuition and being able to like relax
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like they're both really connected. Like, would you say that you're naturally a little bit more like mellow and relaxed? Like, is your
Yes.
family like that too?
No. Well, I would say it's me just more so. I exuded a lot more than a lot of other people because even at my other job where I'm teaching, right? Um, Everybody's always saying like, "Oh, I like how calm you are. You know, you're so chill. You don't yell at the kids. You know, you just keep chill. You try to get to a solution." Or say if there's an emergency happening, like there's been a few instances where, hey, um, something's happened where somebody's gotten hurt. Everybody else is like, oh no, this is this. No, I'm just locked in. Okay, that was what we need to do. I do this, I do this. With like with the CPR training thing. Hey, just locked in. Like, okay, we need to get this done. Focus. Boom. There's no need to panic or anything. I'm not the type to, or maybe I haven't been in a situation where I need, or I do panic, but I just don't let the panic overtake me from getting what I need to do to solve the problem done. You know, that was a terrible sentence, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Yeah. So I guess I am more on the chill aspect, and that also is a detriment into where, hey, now I have to learn that sometimes I gotta show a little emotion. I gotta, let people know like, hey, you can't just keep doing this to me. No, I'm gonna fight back. I'm a stop. Let people know that
Ah,
you started with it. I can't just always be passive all the time. I gotta let people know. They don't know things if I don't tell. I gotta set boundaries, and even if I don't care, like, oh, you stepped over the boundary. No, I gotta set it because you don't set boundaries with people. Hey, they're gonna keep stepping over it, and eventually, worse and worse. So for my personal development, is like, hey, speak up. If I see something wrong, let them know. Don't be afraid to let people know. You can't always be the chill because sometimes that's a detriment to you. People are gonna look at you and be like, "This guy has no feeling whatsoever." You know, and I do have feeling. So
yeah.
I have emotion, that type of thing. But yeah, I'm more on the mellow side. Yeah, a lot mellow.
Oh, Yeah, I see. It kind of sounds like you're so mellow that sometimes people don't even see that you have any kind of fear or like anger,
Yep. Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Is that you hide it, or is um, that you honestly don't feel the same levels as other people, you think?
Sometimes it's depending on the situation. Like if it's a certain social setting, like that. Oh, I don't need to make it out. Some people would make an outburst in this situation. I don't need to, so I'll be like, okay, no, I don't feel it. Sometimes it's like, how would I say? Um, tell me something that upsets you, and then I'll tell you how I would respond to it. That really grinds your gears.
Let me think. Okay, like if something little happens, like for example, I'm at the temple last night and I have my plate and I'm talking to the woman who's in the kitchen, questions about the food, right? Because I don't want to eat certain types of food. And so when she's hearing me and I'm asking like, what's in this? What kind of ingredients are there? I kind of sense that she's kind of like impatient and like being rude. And so when I sense that coming from somebody else, that they're kind of like condescending, then I'll kind of switch into this mode to where I'm kind of like, what's the big deal? Like I'm asking normal questions. So that's something to where I'd have to step back and be like, well, that's about them.
Hmm. So for me, how I would handle that is if I was asking certain things and I got that vibe from her, I'd just be like, oh, okay, move on. I mean, I'd feel it, right? But then
Move
I
on.
wouldn't go anything more into it because I already know that, hey, that person is not receptive to this. They probably don't want to be asked all these questions. They probably don't know. I'll just take it and go, or I'll just, I won't take the
Hmm.
food off. I already have the food. Maybe give it away, or just keep eating. Whatever happens, happens. That type of thing.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
the,
doesn't matter.
like how you said you're going to go and confront the person, that's something I need to develop in myself. More confrontation. I've gotten better with it, but to be, just like shit, like confrontation doesn't always have to mean, hey, something bad is going on.
Assertiveness.
But just like communicate. That's part of communication. You
Yes.
you got to let people know what you're feeling, how you want to, and sometimes you got to. The only way you know how to communicate it is if you do it often enough. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. Oh well, you learn how
Mm-hmm.
to do it better the next time, how to approach this person. But yeah, so I'm going to what you call it. I'm just going to take it as is a stop, ask the person, maybe ask somebody else, and just accept that hey, that person may not be feeling well that day, or maybe I'll find a way to connect to her, ask that person, something, a story, or make it a little joke right there, see if I can get them to smile, and that will probably open them up to be like, oh. Maybe I can, help this person out a little bit. Let me see why they asking me all these questions, that type of thing. That's how
Yeah, I
I.
think that's really yeah, I think that's really smart. Um, because you're right. That is something that I said in my head. Like, what if she just had like a hard day up until then? Kind of help me just like not judge her. And then also like um, later, if I was just gonna go up to her again, not to think that that means anything about her. Like that, just because she was a little bit like grouchy or like cranky, just be normal.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe she was just like it was her part of her time of the month, or maybe something happened before that. So it's good not to take it personally, for sure. And this is all really important stuff to talk about, and I do really appreciate it for sure. But we're at 2 hours and a half, so
Wow.
um,
I'm flat.
it's a Saturday. Yeah, I know. This is time went by so fast. There's so many interesting and important things to talk about when it comes to health, for sure. So 2.5 hours. Thank you so much, man, for
Yep.
sharing
Yes.
your story, your experience, and you know all this really important information. Like, thanks for having this conversation. I think it's definitely going to help a lot of people who, they're probably very similar to us, and they're wondering how they can actually live like a better life and feel just like more energized. And I definitely think that this type of conversation is, um, it's the vulnerable type of real conversation between two guys who, I feel like we're committing our lives to understanding how to, like, be healthy and vigorous. So a lot of respect to you. How do you usually spend your Saturdays? What are you gonna do after this?
Well, I was sleeping before, and I'm gonna go back to sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
We
So,
gotta talk about sleep.
and it is great. I cannot get enough of it. I tell you, I just had a spring break, so I got a lot of sleep then. But now the spring break is over, so now I'm back to working. So now it's sleep. Um, Finish editing some two of the videos I have to edit. Make food for the week, and yeah, just relax.
Nice. Yeah, you had your whole week off. Man, I've been losing sleep. I've been researching so much on sleep. I'm going to be making a lot of material on sleep. I have a couple books coming in. I got podcasts and listening to different experts. So next time, if you want to talk about sleep, we can definitely talk about that. You can kind of see it on a person's face, even like how
Yes.
well rested they are. You look really well rested.
Oh,
Like,
thank you. So the look might not be here for that much longer. If we go to next week, I'll be
yeah,
tired, but hopefully not. But yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. So I'm gonna end this here, but we can keep on talking. So thanks everybody for joining. We hope that this has helped you. Project Newman 333 on YouTube. This is Wavy Vegan. How they
Mm.
find you on YouTube?
Just type in Wavy Vegan on YouTube, Wavy Vegan on TikTok, Wavy Vegan on Instagram, WAV, no, WAVY. And then, on Instagram, it might be underscore vegan, but on YouTube, I know it's Wavy Vegan as it's shown on the thing. And then TikTok, Wavy Vegan as well.
We'll have all the links to the profiles where you can follow him, and he has amazing content, engaging stuff from like anime, different workouts, dumbbell workouts. What else can they find on your channel?
Eh, as of now, that's a little bit of it. Maybe a little bit of product affiliate marketing there. But yeah, it's mostly just anime stuff, working out, health. So I'm bringing anime and cartoons and bringing health all together. That's the big thing.
Inspirational, fun stuff. And so we're going to end this here. And you guys follow along because this is the kind of stuff we're going to keep on sharing, holistic stuff that a lot of people aren't talking about. And if you feel like, you're kind of confused about fitness, or you don't have motivation about fitness, or you just want to have more vitality, then follow our stuff because, first of all, it's free. And second of all, you got to have a mode of fitness that resonates with you. It's got to be something that you're inspired by, you can follow along. And, we're going to be in this for the long term. So thanks for joining us. Follow along. And yeah, we care about you guys. So we'll see you in the next video.
Peace.
Peace.